I can't remember landscaping.
No,
I think landscaping, yeah.
it's just an excuse. They just keep putting it off there.
I'm going to call the meeting to order, and we will start with a pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's been requested of me that several things be pulled from the agenda. I would suggest that we, under old business, pull decommissioning plan, landscaping plan, fire and emergency plan, community relations and dispute resolution plan. I seem to think there's two landscape plans, but I guess there's not. Invasive species control plan, lighting plan, and blasting safety and management plan. There's a feeling that the board's not ready to discuss this. And also, I did not get wording back on a snow plowing resolution, so I have nothing to put forth there. And also, I want to add an executive session to the end of new business. We'll start with privilege of the floor. Privilege of the floor, people are to state their name and addresses and direct their comments to the whole board. It is not a question and answer session, but the public's time to share things with the board. Robert Testori.
Good evening, Robert Testori, 570 Black Oak Road. First off, I just wanted to thank the staff for taking up the seat on the board. I'm sorry that you have to come in the middle of some of this hotbed, but thank you for serving. I wanted to talk about Black Oak Wind Farm as far as these items that have been pulled. But since they've been pulled, I see that the board's not quite ready. I wanted to find out whether the plan is actually going to be as the EIS states, whether that's been worked out, whether all the paperwork's been done and satisfied, but apparently it's not. And I wanted to, again, thank the board for all the work on the budget. I know it was a hard year last year. We've had our problems, I've had to go, and I wanted to explain that to everybody as well, that I had to go back to work full-time at night. So I'm gonna stay for part of this, but I do have to excuse and go back to work. And some of that was because of our mortgage, things like that. But I know that was a mistake as far as the spreadsheet goes, and I thank the board for doing all the hard work to get that straightened out. And I hope this year we're going in, things will be better. And that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Judith Perkins.
Judith Perkins, 273 Black Oak Road. I believe there was a letter sent to the town board members asking them to have Black Oak address some of the concerns, and there were several concerns that had not as yet been addressed by them, and asked them if they could please do this by the end of January so that the town could move forward or not move forward depending on whether they address these issues or not. And I'm just wondering if with that letter going to the town board members on behalf of several of us in the town, if this is going to be discussed, if it's going to become part of the permanent records on this issue or not. And you just said it's not a time for question and answers, but I would just like to see that. I would like to see this discussed more publicly. And the other thing I noticed on the website was what was called the Henry Hanstein resolution. And that addressed the costs, the past costs that have been, that we've had from reviews of the project and future ones. And according to the developer's agreement that was signed in March of 2010, the town should be held harmless for these costs, and Black Oak would pay for all the review costs. And I'm definitely in favor of that happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Judith Lemke.
Jude Lemke, 215 Connecticut Hill Road. Yeah, so just wanted to comment, we've submitted a number of things this week, specifically asking you to put them on the record with respect to Black Oak, so they become part of the permanent record in case there's any litigation. That would include resubmitting the comments we made back in October on setback noise and flicker, some revised comments on the plan that Marcus submitted to you by email as well, and then the letter that Judy just referenced that I submitted to you, laying out some of the problems with the project. And I just wanted to highlight a couple of new things that I've discovered. One is I now understand why Rich Teeter is being asked to sell his property, and that is because the NYISO interconnection rules require Black Oak to transfer the substation to NYSEG, and they can't do that if it's on leased property. The other thing that I've discovered is that there's a piece of property owned by Rich Teeter again, which is not part of his lease at all, and there are two problems with that piece of property. One is that they have collection lines running across that property as part of the original plan, and that is not part of Rich's lease, so he would not be required to do that, and presumably would not give permission. And the other thing is that there's a 10-foot private driveway easement, the access road going up between that piece of property and John Ranchick's property up to Turbine 4. Presumably that access road is infringing on his easement, and normally that would be okay, except that I think it would be an undue burden on his easement because they're changing that from a private driveway use to a commercial use. So he would be able to raise concerns about them using that access road across his driveway easement. So I just want to mention that in addition to the various other things we've pointed out about the problem with Donnie's contract and the problem with Rich's contract as well. And then finally, just, Black Oak's in the hole to the tune of $8,000, so even without the FOIL, they would have to come forward with $23,000 to get current on their account.
Tammy Yalen.
Oh, wait, it's later.
Mimi Happy.
Mimi Mahaffey, 115 West Enfield Center Road. Welcome back, Frank. Happy New Year, everybody. I was going to say more about the specific plans, but the one thing I did want to say is that, again, in the political article that I saw today, Marguerite said that Baywell would be buying Black Oak, and I had questions when I then went back and started reading the plans, whether some of the things were still true, like is it going to be monitored 24/7 by the people in Schenectady. That's not normally the way Baylor works. When I started investigating Baylor, they kind of buy licensed places and then sell them, keeping the management on for themselves. So I kind of would like to know what that's gonna look like and who's gonna be responsible for what, given that the operation part of our law is perhaps the weakest part of our law. who is going to be operating it becomes a big question, and what kind of record they have for the operations. So, that's all. Thank you.
Teresa Giller.
Kohler. 738 Black Oak Road. I'm gonna try to get through this because every time I read what I have in my heart, I always end up having a hard time. I wasn't sure if I even wanted to get up and speak tonight. I first would like to thank all the board members for their long, long hours, their countless papers being read, and listening to the residents. I would also like to thank Beth for deciding to be a part of the town board again. Over the last year or so, I've met so many friendly neighbors, and now when I show up to meetings like tonight, I wave, I hug, I see how their life is going. My children and I even dropped off some small goodie bags to some of them, and it was nice to show my son the importance of being a good neighbor. He was so excited too. That to me is what a community is all about. I'm trying with everything I have to stay calm and be positive and strong for my family, in this community, with everything that seems to be currently going on within this town. I have personally had to deal with a lot in the past. I have heard and seen a lot of deception and name calling in the meetings and in the newspapers. In addition to sleepless nights, lots of crying when the kids are in bed, and lots of praying, I stand before you all speaking from my heart. I could have walked away from this community, but my family and the residents of Enfield are very important to me. The people I have met have built me up back again and given me the strength and courage to come back to the board meetings. In conclusion, I have so much more to say, well over my 3 minutes of speaking time, but unfortunately my hands are tied. So on that note, I thank you all for your time and thank you for listening. I guess the point I was trying to make with all that is, let's try and build up one another and the small, beautiful community, not tear it down. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Waterman.
Mark Waterman, 543 Harvey Hill Road. Thank you for pulling the items off the thing there. I just want to address some things. I just would like to say that many people have spoken up and made the point that Black Oak Wind Farms need to prove they can build the project they want the permit for. This has been addressed several times to the town board and never has been resolved. Several residents here tonight, myself included, are very surprised to see that there are items up for voting on this project. Neither the town people nor the board are certain this project will work. Have any of the board members reached out to try to get letters to Mr. Teeter or Mr. Gunning about this project? Thank you.
Thank you. Marcus Gingrich.
Marcus Gingrich, 101 Romeo Road. Actually, the previous speaker mentioned a little bit what I would want to refer to, but I want to go in a little more depth. It was mentioned about letters being asked for, and I was kind of curious about it, and actually my wife went back through some of the minutes, and it's been mentioned like 5, maybe 6 times that it was going to be, a letter from Teeter was going to be requested to confirm that the wind farm would actually be built. Now I know a draft letter is posted on the website. I don't know whether that ever went out, but and also there was mention of getting a letter from Mr. Gunning as to whether he agreed to have his built within the town law. I would just encourage you to really follow up on that and follow up on some of these items that are brought up, but yeah, I'm not sure what can be done to whether they're just lagging and not actually bringing them out, or turning them over, or what. But the other thing, and actually, I know you pulled all these plans, but I wanted to bring up, I believe at a previous meeting, it was mentioned that the board would sit and work through the plans. And I believe it was started, but I don't think that looks like it was going to happen. So I think I would encourage you to do that. There's going through the minutes, there's a lot of things that the board expresses that they're going to do, but it doesn't seem like it's always followed up on. So I would encourage you to really look at it and think about what you said you were going to do and actually follow through with it. I would like to comment on one plan in particular, because it's a real, to me, it's kind of concerning. And the decommissioning plan, I know I sent you a lot of comments, and I apologize, there was probably more than there needed to be, but actually I think there were a lot that were, most of them, I believe, are very important. One of the things about the decommissioning plan is I'm concerned about actually what the bond is. It turns out if you look carefully at what Black Oak is proposing, they're saying they're not going to bother digging up conduits and wires. I believe if you look at our wind law accurately, it says they have to all be taken up. That's a major expense. Is that going to be something, if Black Oak would disappear or Baywa or whatever, is that something the town is gonna wanna have to be able to do? I mean, have to pay for? All these plans really also need to be applicable to decommissioning, because you're gonna have to re-landscape, you're gonna have to, take care of all the runoff, et cetera. All that has to be taken care of in a decommissioning, and you have to have funds to do that. So, I don't know, it just really raises a question in my mind whether the decommissioning is well thought out. Also, in what happens if there is a catastrophic failure or a major component needs to be changed? What is the expense of that? It doesn't happen often, but what if a wind turbine falls down? Is that going to be covered in our road use agreement? Is a landscaping plan going to apply to that? Just some things to think about. Thanks.
Thank you. The town clerk received a letter from the Association of Towns.
Do you want me to read this? The letter says, please read this at the first 2017 town board meeting. The 2017 training school and annual meeting of this association will be held at the Marriott Marquis, New York City, February 19th to 22nd, 2017. This is a training session for town officials. And then it has the brief outline of events. If anyone would like to see what they are, I can provide that.
Any of us can go.
As long as the funding is approved, I would
I'd like to go.
budgeted money.
You would like to go?
They also say they need a delegate and an alternate.
Since there's an alternate, I'll add that to the resolution.
So are you planning to go in?
Yes,
So then you would consider me the alternate?
if you're going.
Yeah, that's fine. I just didn't know if anybody else was planning to go.
No one has
not me.
ever
Okay.
indicated anything towards positive.
I think you should go, I think it'd be great.
Well,
If
two
that
sons
makes
in New
any
York City,
difference.
so they could make me for dinner.
Yeah.
I'll get you the requisite paperwork. Okay, there's a consent agenda listed. Since Beth indicates a desire to go to the Association of Towns General Meeting, I would ask that the appointment of delegate to New York State Association of Towns annual meeting be amended to include an alternate delegate, Beth McGee.
Second.
Does anyone wish anything pulled from the consent agenda to be considered separately?
Organizational resolutions.
Okay, you want that out.
Yeah.
Does anybody else want anything else off the consent agenda?
We don't have all the audit claims signed yet. I don't know if that's
Oh, I see.
what the rules are on that, but we've got a ways to go still, I think.
Okay, that's pulled. And you have received an email regarding the resolution regarding the retirement payment? Okay, I move that the consent agenda without the organizational resolutions or audit claims be put forward for vote.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the vote.
Councilperson Bryant?
Aye.
Councilperson Carpenter?
Aye.
Councilperson Handstein?
Aye.
Councilperson McGee?
Aye.
Supervisor Ryder?
Aye. We'll next take the organizational resolutions. I assume you have some copy of that?
I have, yeah. The part of it that I'm concerned about is actually all of this one. Actually more clear. More clear.
So I will move that the organizational resolutions be acted upon.
Second.
Discussion.
My main concern was under general rules of procedure. Mostly the third sentence, third paragraph. Board members are not required to rise but must be recognized by the presiding officer before making motions and speaking. That's definitely a policy that we don't do. So I always have hated to have rules that were not followed in place and just kind of ignored. I think it's bad form, I guess, was the word I would use, to make a law or to make a rule that you've decided ahead of time or you know ahead of time you're not going to try to enforce. So I would like to actually eliminate that paragraph or that sentence from the resolutions.
And then you would just have chaos.
Well, we could amend it, certainly. Because right now, if we were to have let's say a dictatorial supervisor, and the supervisor said that they, or just decided never to recognize anyone, then you would have just the opposite of dictatorial chaos. You would have no one speaking at all because no one would be allowed to speak anymore. So somewhere in between, I think, would be a good choice. If we have some kind of ability for people to speak, even though they might not be recognized. Does that make sense?
I hear what you're saying. Do I
Okay.
agree is something different.
Say it again?
I hear what you're saying.
Right.
Do I agree is a
Right.
different question.
Well, no, I'm asking you if mostly if you understand what I'm saying. I guess that's what not that you hear what I'm saying, but that you actually understand what I'm asking for. What I'm asking for is that we don't leave that sentence in place as it is, but we modify it to such a degree that there is some way for people to speak, for board members to speak, not the supervisors to speak, without a recognition from the presiding officer. Right now, as a matter of fact, we don't do that. And again, I really don't like rules and laws that people make that they know ahead of time they're not going to enforce. I think that's a really bad thing to do in terms of trying to keep law and order. So if you want to have a rule about something, let's make a rule that we decide together is a good rule that we want to enforce in the way that we want to enforce it, and then make that rule. Let's not make a rule that we don't actually enforce. I mean, there are some other areas in here which we don't do. Speakers must step to the front of the room. We don't force them to do that. We do ask them to give their name and address. We do ask them to be recognized by the presiding officer. We do ask them to limit their remarks to 3 minutes. They may not yield their time. You know, there's many things that we do that are good rules, relevant, that we follow through on, and I think they're valid to be followed through on.
I guess maybe what I'm thinking is the method of must be recognized how. You know, maybe there's a way to.
How about something like, board members are not required to rise, but are authorized to speak in turn respectfully, or something like that?
Yeah, I'm not gonna make the language. My brain is tired tonight, but.
Then don't bring it up, Mike.
Well, I have to bring it up because as soon as I read that sentence, I said, we've been agreeing to that sentence forever. And I used to work in a school where there were lots of laws that I actually believed in laws and rules, and it wound up me getting into fistfights and wrestling matches with many of the students because I tried to enforce the laws that the people who ran the school said were supposed to be enforced. And the students said, we've never enforced that. Why should we enforce it now? And so we had a significant disagreement about that. And I just don't think it's good policy to do.
What if instead of saying must be recognized, it said shall be recognized?
That's still more at discretion, though.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I should certainly very much put it at the top of my list to enforce this rule also.
Well, we don't have
And I
any.
think that
Which-
it's very good that you brought this up, because I should be enforcing it much more than I do.
Well, the thing is, it's really poorly written. It doesn't really make any sense. If you follow the consequences of it in many different situations, there would be no one able to speak in the meetings except for the supervisor. And I don't think that's the point of what we want to do. I don't think we want to require people to only speak when the supervisor decides that it's okay for them to speak. I don't think that's the point of the town board meeting. I think we all are supposed to have a say in this process, and yours is equal to ours, but it doesn't mean that you can stifle ours. Because this is saying basically that you can decide who will get to talk and who won't get to talk. And I don't think that's the point of it.
I think the point of it is to try to have everyone be able to speak and one person not.
I agree. Let's find a law. Let's find something that will allow everyone to speak in their time, in their turn, with the rights to speak, and not limit their rights to speak, but have it be in a methodology that gives us the ability to keep order in the process.
Well-
If you don't feel like we can keep order without this rule, then it seems like we need something.
I put something forward a couple of months ago, but
You did, and it wasn't approved because
that's right.
not enough people were agreeing on it, not enough board members were in agreement with it.
Right.
My recollection from our workshop with Jeff Shepherdson and Don Barber about conflict in meetings was that the person that presides over a meeting is intended to be a facilitator, not a leader. So that understanding has been what I have always gone by, and that would not go along with this the way it's written, because a facilitator is a person who facilitates work being done by a group, not who determines what work, or who, so.
And for me, because I don't have better language, my choice would be to eliminate it and then see if we have a problem without the rule or without the law. And if we do, then we can, at some point in the future, do that. As it is right now, I don't think I've been on the board in any meeting at all where the supervisor has required me to be given permission to speak. So I don't think we've ever done this, as far as I know. And if we've never done it, I don't know why eliminating it at this point would create chaos. I just don't understand why that would happen. You have 4 people on the board who, from my understanding and from my experience, are very respectful of each other and very willing to be quiet when they need to be quiet and to listen to other people's opinions, except for maybe me, but but I try to shut up when I have to. And I think if either one of these two would just kick me under the table, I probably would shut up, so.
Well, I don't think that's part of Robert's Rules of Order.
No, but my biggest problem these days is I'm so lacking in sense of humor that I'm just trying to bring a little bit of humor into the process, because I'm really losing my sense of humor coming to these board meetings, I'm afraid. I really don't want to do that, so.
Virginia?
I'd be willing to, between now and the next scheduled board meeting, look for different wording that might address the same thing.
Thank you.
And put it out there for all of us, email it
Thank you.
to all of us and say, you know, some of it may be hysterical, Old English. No, it won't be old, Old English.
I think that'd be great.
I do believe,
I'm serious.
I'm sorry, I don't
No.
want to interrupt you.
No, I mean, I'm serious about what I was saying, just putting a little light humor in there, no Chaucerian or
I appreciate it.
common law English, but there's gotta be wording that, because I can see both sides of this. And the middle, you know, we certainly, I've never been in a meeting where I rose to be recognized.
Oh, you don't have to.
No, I know, but, I know it, but why is it there? So I wanna research.
Because they
this
copied it
through.
from Robert's Rules of Order.
Yes. I
However,
recognize it for the
I would
law.
like you to note, at the bottom of page 2, in the organizational resolutions, there is a mechanism to amend from time to time by the majority vote of the board. And until we have something reasonable to replace this with, I really question taking it out.
Well, if I say the timeline for me to promulgate some stuff to all the board members, would that be between now and the February meeting? Or is that making them out not on mobile?
It depends on if we have a special meeting between now and then that might be contentious.
Oh, well.
Well, do we need to pass these resolutions at this board meeting today? Is that-
So that's the general things that happen in New York State towns. The first meeting of the month is the organizational meeting.
Okay, well, assuming that we want to pass these today, then I will make a motion that we delete that sentence from the
Make an
general rules.
amendment.
Okay, I'll make an amendment. Thank you for the correction. I would like an amendment, make an amendment to these rules of procedure. And the amendment would be that we would delete this sentence / paragraph from the 2017 general rules for procedure and guidelines for public comment.
Is there a second on the amendment?
Second.
Any more discussion on the amendment?
This is just the resolution for the procedures, right? Not for the whole thing.
It's an amendment to
General rules of procedure.
my motion to accept the organizational
Oh,
resolution.
so you're looking for the whole shebang, not just the rules of procedure, because I have other things to talk about on the rules.
Okay, you want to take one section at a time.
Well, not necessarily. You asked if we had questions about the organizational stuff, so he brought up one, I have another one. I was just asking, I didn't want to vote on something if we were voting on the whole thing rather than just the rules of procedure.
Well, I guess that's the way we'll take them.
I thought we were just gonna vote on Mike's amendment.
Yes, that's what's before us right now.
Okay, I just didn't know if you were saying we'll vote on accepting these as long as we have that amended. So, if we want to just vote on amending that language, that's great.
Any other discussion of the amendment? Call the vote.
Councilperson Bryant?
Aye.
Councilperson Carpenter?
Aye.
Councilperson Handstein?
Aye.
Councilperson McGee?
Aye.
Supervisor Ryder?
Nay. Okay, so, This is carried. So we will go back to resolution, is this gonna be resolution 1, Alice?
Well.
On
Is
the
your
first page?
Is your appointment of delegates a resolution?
Yep.
That's already been approved, so that would be resolution
No,
number 1.
I don't, it was, oh, yes, that has been approved, yes, in the consent agenda. So this is, resolution number 2 here, this town board meeting dates?
Yes.
Okay. So I move that resolution number 217, town board meeting dates, resolved that the regular meeting of the Enfield Town Board shall be held monthly on the second Wednesday of each month at 6:30 at the Enfield Community Council, 182 Enfield Main Road, Ithaca, New York. Could I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion on this? Call the vote.
Councilperson Bryant?
Aye.
Councilperson Carpenter?
Aye.
Councilperson Handstein?
Aye.
Councilperson McGee?
Aye.
Supervisor Ryder?
Aye. Resolution number 2. 3, Town Board regular meeting outline. Resolve the order for conducting business at the regular town board meetings is as follows. Call meeting to order, pledge of allegiance, privilege of the floor limited to 3 minutes, consent agenda, communications, county legislature's report, highway superintendent report, code enforcers report, supervisor's report, committee reports, old business, new business, announcements, privilege of the floor limited to 3 minutes, adjournment. Further resolved, the order for conducting any special meetings is as follows. Call the meeting to order, pledge of allegiance, privilege of the floor limited to 3 minutes, consent agenda, old business, new business, announcements, adjournments. And start items are action items. Could I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Call the vote.
Councilperson Bryant?
Aye.
Councilperson Carpenter?
Aye.
Councilperson Handstein?
Aye.
Councilperson McGee? Supervisor Ryder?
Aye. Resolution number 4, general rules for procedure and guidelines for public comment. Resolved, in an effort to foster an orderly meeting process, the following rules and guidelines will be used and enforced at all town board meetings. General rules of procedure, the supervisor shall preside at meetings. In the supervisor's absence, the deputy supervisor shall preside. The presiding officer may debate, move, and take other action that may be taken by other members of the board. A member, once recognized, shall not be interrupted when speaking unless it is to call him or her to order. If a member, while speaking, is called to order, they shall cease speaking until the question of order is determined, and if in order, he shall be permitted to proceed. There is no limit to the number of times a speaker may speak on a question. Motions to close or limit debate may be entertained, but shall require a 2/3 vote.
I have one thing. There's no limit to the number of times a member may speak on a
A
question.
board member.
A board member, okay.
Guidelines for public comment. The public shall be allowed to speak only during the public comment and privilege of the floor period of the meeting and at such other time as a majority of the board shall allow. Speakers must step to the front of the room. Speakers must give their name, address, and organization, if any. Speakers must be recognized by the presiding officer. Speakers must limit their remarks to 3 minutes on a given topic. Speakers may not yield any remaining time they may have to another speaker. Board members may, with the permission of the supervisor, interrupt a speaker during their remarks, but only for the purpose of clarification or information. All remarks shall be addressed to the board as a body and not to any member thereof. Speakers shall observe the commonly accepted rules of courtesy, decorum, dignity, and good taste. Interested parties or their representatives may address the board by written communications. Amendments to the rules of procedure. The foregoing procedures may be amended from time to time by a majority vote of the board. Second,
Second.
any discussion?
I have one more
Beth.
remark. So we've talked about possibly finding other language for this one that we amended to remove, but the one below it basically gives the rules of decorum for member speaking. So why not just add like a preface to that sentence instead of just a member once recognized shall not be interrupted? Say board members are not required to rise, but once a member is recognized, they shall not be interrupted, and then follow it, continuing that. Because it really gives the instruction of how members are to go about speaking. Even if a presiding officer, in the thing that we amended to remove, even if that presiding officer recognizes them, well, that sentence does kind of sound like the presiding officer could deny someone an opportunity to speak. It clearly says in here that there's no limit to how many times a member can speak. So.
So do you want to make an amendment to this resolution?
I mean, it just,
Or do you want to put it off and let Virginia bring wording forth?
well, we can certainly do that. I don't mind that at all. But if people were agreeable with that, it would save her having to do that, that's all.
I mean, yeah, board members are not required to rise, but must be recognized by the presiding officer before making motions and speaking.
Well, that was voted out.
Right. I was recommending we remove the second part of that sentence and just add the first part of it to the paragraph below it. So instead of just saying in the paragraph where it says, a member once recognized shall not be interrupted when speaking unless it is to call him or her to order, saying board members are not required to rise. However, once a member is recognized, they shall not be interrupted when speaking. And then just continue with that paragraph.
That works for me.
You want to put that in the form of an amendment?
Okay.
It still pretty much says that you need to be recognized first.
Yeah,
Yes, it does.
It does still say once recognized. Yes, that's true. It kind of goes together with the other one, so you're thinking tonight.
But it doesn't, it
one
doesn't
says must
assume.
be recognized, the other says,
If we've eliminated the concept of recognition, then we're putting it back in to this paragraph by saying once recognized. We have no way to recognize that person now. We put ourselves in a mix where nobody can recognize you.
So
But
you
have
can
to be
take
recognized.
those two words out.
Sounds like we better.
So board members are not required to stand, but
Shall not be interrupted.
shall not be interrupted when speaking unless.
That's even better.
mm-hmm.
So that's your amendment?
Is that agreeable to everyone?
Agreeable to me.
Well,
Yes, good for me.
we'll vote on it.
I know, but I need to write it
Does-
down so I can say it.
Does the clerk have the wording of the amendment?
No, I'm still a little
All right, so
confused.
let me suss it out here. Board members are not required to rise. Period. Members shall not be interrupted when speaking unless it is to call him or her to order. And then finish with that, the rest of that paragraph there. If a member, while speaking, be called to order, they shall cease speaking until the question of order is determined, and if in order, he shall be permitted to proceed. Can we add she also? to that?
Second?
Second.
Any other discussion on the amendment? Call the vote.
Councilperson Bryant?
Aye.
Councilperson Carpenter?
Aye.
Councilperson Handstein?
Aye.
Councilperson McGee?
Aye.
Supervisor Ryder?
Aye. So now we're back to the resolution number 4 on the floor. Was there a second to that?
There was
Yes.
Mhm.
All right, any more discussion on
I
resolution
have-
number 4?
a discussion, unfortunately. In terms of my petty OCD-ness, I have to say that we still have speakers must step to the front of the room, and if we don't require them to step to the front of the room, maybe we should not have that in there. Because again, we're making a rule that we don't follow through with.
You wanna put may step to the front of the room?
Ah, I like that. That's really good.
Well, what about stand up?
I think that would be important. Stand when able.
Yeah,
I mean, it just is helpful to hear.
it
people.
really is
I
helpful
mean,
to hear. I mean, if it's just coming from someone sitting, unfortunately, it isn't as clear as I remember elocution, unfortunately. It just isn't as clear. It's whatever
Well,
they
I would like
say.
to put in a resolution or whatever it may be to
Amendment.
amendment, to change
Oh.
that to,
This is the second amendment to resolution 4.
okay, to change that to speakers may stand, must stand.
No, no.
It's good when
Because they
everybody
may not be
stands.
able to.
Yeah.
Right.
But if they are able.
I'm getting there, Alice.
Speakers.
Speakers are requested to stand. Is that
Sure.
okay? Speakers are requested to stand when speaking.
You may get a handicapped speaker, you know.
That's why they're
Right.
requested.
It's just a request.
And if
Over
they, yeah.
But this says nothing about handicap.
Well, you could just include the words when able.
Yes, that, to me, would be much,
That sounds great. Speakers are requested to stand when able.
When speaking, when able.
Yes,
When
when speaking.
speaking.
Not whatever.
But they could just all stay standing, right? If they were in the front of the room, they would stand over us.
Don't encourage it.
Would you read that, Alice?
Speakers are requested to stand when speaking, when able.
Okay, it's a little stilted, but I think it works.
Maybe are requested. when
That's my
s-
motion,
Okay.
or my,
Oh, well,
amendment.
we're calling them speakers, so we don't have to say when speaking.
Right.
Speakers are requested to stand when able.
yeah.
Okay.
Now it's my motion.
A second we need.
No second yet.
Second.
Okay.
My motion.
Other discussions?
What about the front of the room part?
That's gone.
That's
Well,
fine.
Okay.
we don't ask them to come up and.
No? No.
If it was a big room, maybe, but it,
Maybe if we have a podium or a mic or
yeah,
something.
it seems like we can
There's a lot of sound dampering in here, so.
hear everybody, I think, so.
Call the vote.
Councilperson Bryant?
Aye.
Councilperson Carpenter?
Aye.
Councilperson Handstein?
Aye.
Councilperson McGee?
Aye.
Supervisor Ryder?
Aye. All right, so there's 2 amendments to resolution 4. Any other discussion on resolution 4? Call the vote.
Councilperson Bryant?
Aye.
Councilperson Carpenter?
Aye.
Councilperson Handstein?
Aye.
Councilperson McGee?
Aye.
Supervisor Ryder?
Aye. Resolution 5. Department hours. Resolved, the town board hereby establishes the work hours of the highway department to be from 6 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. Town clerk to be from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Thursday. During January, there are additional hours of Tuesday and Thursday from 9 a.m. to noon and Saturday from 9 a.m. to noon. Code enforcement office to be from 8:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. Monday through Thursday, and Wednesday from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Town clerk court to commence at 5 p.m. on Mondays unless it is a holiday. Second,
Second.
discussion. Call the vote.
Councilperson Bryant?
Aye.
Councilperson Carpenter?
Aye.
Councilperson Handstein?
Aye.
Councilperson McGee?
Aye.
Supervisor Ryder?
Aye. Resolution 6, bi-weekly pay periods. Resolved, the town board hereby establishes the following bi-weekly pay periods ending at midnight for this year. Checks are available the following Friday unless it is a holiday when they will be available a day earlier. Payroll frequency, bi-weekly. January 6, 2017, January 20, 2017, February 3rd, 2017, February 17, 2017, March 3rd, 2017, March 17th, 2017, March 31st, 2017, April 14th, 2017, April 28th, 2017, May 12, 2017, May 26, 2017, July 9, 2017, July 23, 2017, July 7, 2017, July 21, 2017, August 4, 2017, August 18, 2017, September 1, 2017, September 15, 2017, September 29, 2017, October 13, 2017, October 17, 27, 2017, November 10, 2017, November 22, 2017, December 8, 2017, December 20th, 2017, and January 5, 2018. Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Call the vote.
Councilperson Bryant?
Aye.
Councilperson Carpenter?
Aye.
Councilperson Handstein?
Aye.
Councilperson McGee?
Aye.
Supervisor Ryder?
Aye. Resolution number 7, paid holidays. Resolved that the town board hereby establishes the following paid holidays for employees. Town offices will be closed on these dates. January 1, 2017, New Year's Day. January 16, 2017, Martin Luther King Day. February 20th, 2017, President's Day. May 29, 2017, Memorial Day. July 4th, 2017, Independence Day. September 4th, 2017, Labor Day. October 9, 2017, Columbus Day. November 10th, 2017, Veterans Day. November 23rd, 2017, Thanksgiving Day. December 25th, 2017, Christmas Day, and one floating holiday. Second?
Second.
I have a couple discussion.
These always been the holidays? Well, I mean.
I don't know.
Is it the same as last year? Or?
It is the same as last year. It is the same as the last 3 years that I'm sure of.
Except the issue that came up this year was that actually the paid holiday for employee was not January 1st, it was January 2nd. Do we need to include that in there? Because
Yes, we made a resolution.
Right.
And I do admit that I copied this from this last year, so.
I'm just
it
wondering
sh-
about July 4th and Christmas, if they're actually going to be,
I did look at that. I
They're
did
okay.
look at a calendar.
so they're okay,
December 25th is a Monday,
right?
and July 4th is in the middle of the week, I think.
So it'll be a holiday, because it'll be July 4th.
Well, it's only a one-day holiday.
Yeah. And then President's Day is always on the 20th.
No, it's always a Monday.
It's always a
President's
Monday.
It's a
Memorial Day
Monday.
is always a Monday. Martin Luther King Day is always a Monday. Labor Day is always a Monday.
Monday.
Columbus Day is always a Monday.
Mhm.
Veterans
Now,
Day is the 11th, right?
Yes, for Veterans Day is not on a Monday.
Yes, Veterans Day should be.
Veterans Day is Veterans Day is my understanding.
I thought it was the 11th.
You think it's the 11th?
I think it's always the 11th, isn't it?
Yes.
You look it up.
Well, unless the 11th is a weekend. Possibly, or,
Oh, well, that would be the reason why they would need a floating holiday, but,
right.
oh, I don't know.
Thanksgiving is always on Thursday, so that's not an issue.
Yeah, see, Veterans Day is on Saturday. in
That's
2017.
Saturday, so the Friday before would be the holiday.
Is it always the Friday, or would it be?
Well, November 10th would be the Friday before. And I don't know that they have a federal holiday on the Monday after Veterans Day or not. But,
So, Beth, you are correct. Veterans Day is on the 11th.
Mm-hmm.
Since that is a Saturday, my recommendation is that we give our employees the Friday off.
Yeah, I just,
I can settle this real quick.
I will recognize you.
Well, you're not. I've had my hand up for a while.
I give preference to board members.
Well, I'm trying to answer this question.
So, do
If you
we
look at
want
town
to?
policy, it will answer it.
You're recognized, Mr. Rollins.
Thank you very much. In our town policy, it already states in the paragraph after the holidays, if the holiday falls on Saturday, we get Friday off. If it falls on Sunday, we get Monday off. It's in black and white already.
thank you. That was my question.
Very simple.
So November 10th is
correct.
the right day? Good.
Now, my question is, one floating holiday. Do you want to expand on what the policy says after holidays?
It's a floating holiday. They can take it any time of the year.
Each employee can take it any day they want.
Yes. Most of my guys take it the day after Thanksgiving. But it's a floating holiday, and anywhere that has floating holiday, you can use it any day of the year, and it cannot be carried over.
Right. So on the time card, the employee puts floating holiday,
Correct.
7.0 or 8.0. Okay. Any other discussion? Call the vote.
Councilperson Bryant?
Aye.
Councilperson Carpenter?
Aye.
Councilperson Hanstein?
Aye.
Councilperson McGee?
Aye.
Supervisor Ryder?
Aye. Resolution 8. Town email accounts. Resolved, the town board has official email accounts for all town employees and elected officials for use in their official capacities. These email accounts will be connected to our official website domain, townofenfield.org. Ownership of and access to these communications will be with the town of Enfield. All employees and elected officials will set up accounts with Sue Thompson, webmaster, and use their account for town business after it is set up for as long as they work for or serve the town of Enfield. Second?
Seconded.
Any discussion?
I do.
Beth?
We made this resolution back in 2014 when I first set up all the email accounts, and it really was not followed. I mean, still.
Well, I was going to bring up that here's another resolution that is not enforced. However, when I reread this, I do have new resolve to enforce that.
Well, I think it needs to be.
Well, I
mean, it's
agree.
just because,
I agree.
you know, any communications, there are often, I think that there was a question before whether or not people were able to set it up. I have looked at it again in the last couple of weeks and logging into all three of the different setups that they provide, that Bluehost provides for people to log in. The one that I particularly like is more like an online Windows program, is the Squirrel Mail. It looks just like any regular email that you'd log into on the host to get your email. So there's three. There's, I can't remember, Horde is one,
Horde.
Roundcube, and Squirrel Mail.
I think I use a squirrel too.
Yeah, I do.
It's the closest to what the newer online version of like Outlook
That's
is
better
or
than
whatever.
around two.
I like it better.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very simple, lots of settings, and your ability to.
If I'm on Roundcube now, and I switch to Squirrel Mail, am I gonna lose all my Roundcube history?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No. It should be all interchangeable because it's all the same mailbox. It's just a different interface that you use to
Okay.
get to it.
That's what I figured, yeah.
So, and so any emails that we send out as a board should only be addressed to our town board emails instead of our personal emails.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Any other discussion? Call the vote.
Councilperson Bryant?
Aye.
Councilperson Carpenter?
Aye.
Councilperson Handstein?
Aye.
Councilperson McGee? Beth?
Oh, I'm sorry, aye.
Supervisor Ryder?
Aye. Resolution 9, 2017, Town Board Appointments. Resolved that the Town Board hereby makes the following advisory committee position appointments. Chair is noted in bold print. Some of the formatting did not come through on this copy I'm looking at.
Want me to read it?
Yeah.
Resolve the town board hereby makes the following advisory committee position appointments. Chair is noted in bold print. Town historian Sue Thompson. Town webmaster Sue Thompson. Cemetery committee Sue Thompson, Wayne Snyder, Jessica Elliott, Ed Thompson, John Linton, Wayne C. Snyder, and Wayne A. Snyder. And Supervisor Ryder is liaison. Beautification committee Supervisor Ann Ryder and Helen Hetherington. Community Council Liaison, Councilperson Virginia Bryant. Councilperson. That means Council of Community Council, I guess. Makes sense. County Youth Board, Barbara Sadovnik, Supervisor Ann Ryder, Liaison. Recreation Partnership, Carolyn Chance, Supervisor Ann Ryder, Liaison. County Environmental Management Council, Tony Carpenter. Advisory Board of Assessment Review, Peg Willis, Kim Falstick, David Wales. Facilities Development Committee, Supervisor Ann Ryder, Councilperson Mike Carpenter, Superintendent Buddy Rollins, and Alan Teeter. Personnel Committee, Councilperson Virginia Bryant, Supervisor Ann Ryder, Town Clerk Alice Linton, Highway Superintendent Buddy Rollins, Employee Representative Gabe Newpart. TC Council of Governments, Supervisor Ann Ryder, alternate Henry Handstein, alternate Supervisor Ann Ryder. Oops, no.
No.
That was Health Insurance Consortium, Board Director.
Board Director. And that's blank because I do not have one.
Okay, so the alternate is Supervisor Ann Ryder on that one. Emergency Planning Committee, Supervisor Ann Ryder, Roger Lauper, Art Hauser, Alan Teeter, Buddy Rollins, Larry Stillwell, Lisa Reiger, Elementary Principal, Bear Croft School. Comprehensive Plan Writing Committee, Beth McGee, Dan Walker, Pony Carpenter. Planning Board, Dan Walker, Pony Carpenter, Ann Chafee, Steve Given, Rob Tesori, 2021, although he hasn't been put in that position yet, I don't think.
This puts it in his.
This does.
Puts
Okay,
it in
congratulations,
that
Rob.
position.
What's 2021?
The numbers in parentheses are the year that their term ends.
And that's the end of that resolution, or the reading of it.
Second,
Second.
discussion?
I guess I was thinking that it was wrong to have Councilperson Virginia Bryant. Maybe the fact that she's the alternate, or the secondary, I don't know what the word is, but that she's your alternate supervisor. Does that make her a councilperson?
She's a council person of the town of Enfield. That's what she's being referred to as.
Is she?
Virginia Bryant?
Oh, I'm sorry. Virginia, I was confusing with Vera. I was trying to think of Vera. Vera is the deputy supervisor?
Well, if you appoint her later
Well,
on.
Oh, later on she gets appointed, not now.
No.
It's been a long day, it really
Yeah,
has.
she-
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Supervisor, where does this come
You
from?
get one hit on me whenever you want. Just do whatever.
No, it's
Nobody-
the.
Nobody asked me.
I'm referring to the person sitting next to you in this list.
Yeah. But
Any
Vera
other
is,
dis-
Vera's later on in this page, that's right. Yeah, I think she was.
Any other discussion?
I do. Just as a rule of order, is it appropriate, isn't the board supposed to vote on appointment For the planning board?
Well, I thought I sent a resolution, but it didn't seem to turn up in the Netherlands.
Oh, because
I
we
think
got a
the
letter.
answer is- I think the answer is yes.
Yeah, I think the answer is yes too,
Yeah.
but as a matter of order,
You just make a motion
I don't know,
to appoint him?
it just seemed weird to have him.
It was supposed to,
So-
be brought up at this meeting, actually.
So when I sent you that email, there was absolutely no attachment to it?
I got an email attachment from the letter.
But not two?
I don't think so.
All I got was his
Letter of intent.
The resume.
I'll
Yeah.
slap me on the wrist.
Can we make a motion to appoint him?
I think we have to do this.
We're in the middle of
resolution
this.
first,
That was my only question, is
Yeah.
the question of order of that. That's
Yeah,
all.
the order would be an issue, yeah.
Any other discussion?
I guess my only other discussion would be, can we legally vote on this without having Rob Tesori being legally approved as a planning board member?
You know, you can just scratch his name off, make an amendment, and scratch it off.
Or can we set it aside, since we've already read it, and come back to it?
Yeah, there's another suggestion. So we'll pull the motion and go on to,
I don't mind keeping reading if you're.
Okay.
comfortable. Okay,
so this one's gonna be Resolution 9 now.
resolution 9.
Mm-hmm.
Attorney for the town, salary at $200 per hour, paid monthly. Whereas the town board specifically waives the requirement that the town's attorney be a resident of the town, now therefore be resolved, the town board appoints Mr. Guy Crowe Esquire to fill this position, and the supervisor is authorized to sign a one-year contract.
Second. Any discussion?
Is it okay to do this in keeping with the audit response we got from the fellow in Binghamton, that he was looking for the three.
Liz?
Oh,
Three bids.
there's another way to handle that.
Okay,
And this doesn't handle it, but, well, actually, I'm gonna get 3 bids. There's a couple of ways to handle it. Get
Okay.
3 bids.
right,
Get 5 bids. And/or make a different procurement policy for specialized jobs. There are 2 ways to handle that.
my main concern was that you didn't get in touch with the guy from Binghamton. That was, I just wanna make sure we don't approve this, and then he's gonna say, well, wait a minute, you knew you had to get 3 bids and you just approved it anyways. I just don't wanna make it so that he's gonna give you a hard time,
No.
Okay. Well,
Sorry, did you have something else?
so as far as you're concerned, it's okay to go ahead and just vote on this?
Yeah,
Okay, great.
yeah.
I have a question. Having been at other town board members where lawyers are present, it seems, or town board meetings where lawyers are present, it just calls to mind all the numbers of times that we put off discussion, or I've watched this board put off discussion because they've had to go and ask the attorney about something. And it would seem like having it part of our contract that he actually attend at the very least the monthly board meetings and have that be part of the contract. I mean, I have seen other contracts for other towns for attorneys that actually accommodate for this. And it seems like it would save us a lot of time, particularly when we have issues like this going on and need legal advice. I mean, I guess, we could sit here and think that at $200 an hour for a 4-hour meeting, that would be a lot of money, but if you negotiate it in your contract, then it's not necessarily that that's the cost, that it's an agreement that he would be here for, at the very least, the regular town board meetings.
Well, the problem for that is that it has not been allowed for in the 2017 budget. I'm not speaking at all to the merits of your statement. But it has not been accommodated in the worked into the 2017 budget.
And another aspect of it would be that I think we probably would have to check with Guy too and see if it was acceptable. I mean, he might
Well,
say.
we haven't
yeah,
even asked him.
Right, right. But I think it's worth considering. I think we should follow it up. I think we could probably approve the resolution because I think these can be changed at any time.
Yes, they can.
I think we should approve it as for now and then talk to Guy and see what we can arrange with him.
But also tangentially with that, you have to give a plan for how you're gonna accommodate the terribly increased costs
Yeah.
of that line. Or terribly.
Right, first thing I'd do would be to ask him if he'd do it for free.
Well, right, I mean, we don't know that they'd be terribly, I mean, there are other attorneys that do it for towns, and it's part of their contract, it's part of the negotiation.
I said I was not speaking to the merits of your, it's absolutely done in other towns. No question. No question. But, here in Enfield, you have to show me a plan for how we're gonna pay for it in 2017.
Well, how about a plan for an attorney that would do it? That would be a reasonable cost.
Oh,
And so if
just,
we're putting out for bids for an attorney, why wouldn't we list that as a potential desire of ours and to have them know that information when they offer us a bid?
yeah,
Because
Sure.
their bid could come in less than what we generally pay for Guy Crow.
you are way out of touch.
Oh, okay.
You are way out of touch.
But you don't know until you find out.
That's right.
My only concern would just be that we make sure to get somebody who knows town law.
Yeah.
really well.
Well, that certainly will be right up there on the first.
Well, I hope so.
First criteria.
Yeah,
There are a
first
lot of
criteria.
towns around here who have lawyers, so I'm sure that we'll be able to find one if that isn't an idea that is acceptable to Guy. If the town board feels that it's important to have attorney representation at a meeting and that we think that should be criteria in our contract with them, then if you can't do that, that would be problematic. So if we aren't arguing, if you aren't arguing with the merits of that, then I'm assuming that you think it's a good idea. So why wouldn't we think that that's something that we should expect from our attorney?
It's never been put forth before.
Okay, I'm putting it forth.
I think it
So-
would be really helpful.
Any other discussion? Call the vote?
Councilperson Bryant?
Aye.
Councilperson Carpenter? Councilperson Handstein?
Aye.
Councilperson McGee?
Aye.
Supervisor Ryder?
Aye.
Resolution 10, official newspaper. Resolved, the Ithaca Journal, a newspaper regularly published and having general circulation in the town, is hereby designated as the official newspaper for the town of Enfield. And further resolved, the town will send a newsletter to all residents in conjunction with the Enfield Community Council Currents, in quotes, newsletter, 4 times per year, sharing costs of production, printing, and mailing.
Second. Any discussion? Call the vote.
Councilperson Bryant?
Aye.
Councilperson Carpenter?
Aye.
Councilperson Handstein?
Aye.
Councilperson McGee?
Aye.
Supervisor Ryder?
Aye.
Resolution 11, policies and procedures. Resolved, the town board adopts the listed policies and procedures, an appendix to the employee handbook. Policy 100.1, banking institutions with the change in the town's bank is Tompkins Trust Company. Banking institutions with the change. Okay.
That's not what the written policy says.
Tompkins
But she
Trust Company.
just, it doesn't say that. In the copy you have and you just got, it doesn't say that.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I'll go on.
So this year resolution makes it absolutely crystal clear.
Gotcha. Policy 100.2, payroll activities. Policy 100.3, vacation and holiday policy. Policy 200.1, sick leave policy. Policy 200.2, health insurance policy. Policy 400.1, investment policy. Policy 400.2, prepayment of certain bills. Policy 400.3, general policy on procurement. Policy 400.4, mileage reimbursement, with this year's rate being 53.5 cents per mile, according to the IRS. Policy 501.1, cemetery fees. And that's all.
Do not have
And policy,
600.1 transcription tape retention.
That's interesting because I don't know. I guess I'm reading from the one that I printed off the town website.
Oh, okay. Well,
But it must have been updated since then.
No, it's always had that one, I don't know.
Yeah.
So maybe it got cut off at the bottom of your page or something.
Oh, I guess it could have, yeah, because it's at the bottom of the page.
yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't look that way because you have a footer on your page.
That's true. Well, I did print it today, this morning, from the town website.
Well, there is
Trying to be up to date.
where is that? You wanna add it?
Policy 600.1, transcription tape retention.
second,
Second.
discussion?
I guess my only question is the prepayment of certain bills. Does that have any, is that a change in policy that would be, is something that you feel needs any input on, or do you feel like it's just something that's is okay as it is?
Oh, it probably needs a lot of looking over, but
I don't know that
it
policy.
hasn't.
Right. I don't know what that policy says.
Oh, well, it's in your,
Right.
it's in, you've been given it.
Yeah, I haven't written it. I haven't read it for 4 years, I think.
I thought there was supposed to be an overhaul of the employee handbook like last year.
There
or the year
was.
before.
There was. That was one of the many things that did not get done. Did we get a second on this?
Virginia.
Virginia, okay, so we can discuss. Yes. There was great hopes of making it a clearer, more user-friendly form, but
Well, I'm retired now.
there, yes. Virginia and I have no resolve.
I guess the only comment I would make is that hopefully sometime this year, if we don't spend every meeting 90% of the time talking about the wind farm, we will actually have some time to start doing some of these things that we've been putting off for a while. And it would be great to do the changes that need to be changed and do the updates that need to be updated and to kind of put some kind of a plan in place. We could actually begin to do those procedures.
Any other discussion? Call the vote.
Councilperson Bryant?
Aye.
Councilperson Carpenter?
Aye.
Councilperson Handstein?
Aye.
Councilperson McGee?
Aye.
Supervisor Ryder?
Aye.
Resolution 12, Code of Ethics. Resolved, all public officials, appointees, and employees for the town of Enfield are subject to the Code of Ethics as adopted by the town, which is written in the Policies and Procedures Manual in the Employee Handbook.
Second,
Second.
discussion?
I think my only discussion on that is I think it's not the Policies and Procedure Manual as if his name was Manual, but actually M-A-N-U-A-L probably. would be
A-L?
More appropriate, yeah. I think it's spelled that way. Maybe I'm wrong.
Other discussion? Call the vote.
Councilperson Bryant?
Aye.
Councilperson Carpenter?
Aye.
Councilperson Handstein?
Aye.
Councilperson McGee?
Aye.
Supervisor Ryder?
Aye.
Resolution 13, resolved that the town clerk, Alice Linton, shall be appointed as the town's record access officer, and further resolved that she will serve as the person who receives all FOIL requests.
Second.
Second.
Discussion?
Is that a problem for you, Alice?
Well, I guess it's okay. It's-
Other discussion? Call the vote.
Councilperson Bryant?
Aye.
Councilperson Carpenter?
Aye.
Councilperson Handstein?
Aye.
Councilperson McGee?
Aye.
Supervisor Ryder?
Aye.
Resolution 14, town bookkeeper, salary at $8,385.52 annually, paid bi-weekly. Resolved, the supervisor is hereby authorized to designate a town bookkeeper, and further resolved, the supervisor is authorized to list the bookkeeper on the town's security insurance policy, and further resolved, the supervisor appoints Deborah Kelly to fill this position.
Second.
Seconded.
Discussion? Call the vote.
Councilperson Bryant?
Aye.
Councilperson Carpenter?
Aye.
Councilperson Handstein?
Aye.
Councilperson McGee?
Aye.
Supervisor Ryder?
Aye.
Resolution 15, resolved, the supervisor is hereby authorized to designate an assistant town bookkeeper to pay bills, prepare payroll, handle the books for at least 2 continuous weeks during the calendar year, and other related duties in the absence of the bookkeeper. And further resolved, the supervisor appoints Courtney Bailey to fill this position.
Second.
Seconded.
Any discussion? Call the vote.
Councilperson Bryant?
Aye.
Councilperson Carpenter?
Aye.
Councilperson Handstein?
Aye.
Councilperson McGee?
Aye.
Supervisor Ryder?
Aye.
Resolution 16, deputy town supervisor, salary at $800 per year, paid quarterly. Resolved, the town board establishes the office of deputy supervisor to act for and in place of the supervisor in his or her absence. And further resolved, the supervisor appoints Vera Houstrate to fill this position.
Second.
Seconded.
Discussion? Call the vote.
Councilperson Bryant?
Aye.
Councilperson Carpenter?
Aye.
Councilperson Handstein?
Aye.
Councilperson McGee?
Aye.
Supervisor Ryder?
Aye.
Resolution 17, deputy highway superintendent, 75-cent differential to current hourly wage, paid bi-weekly. Resolved, the town board establishes the office of deputy highway superintendent to act for and in place of the highway superintendent in his absence. And further resolved, the highway superintendent appoints Brandon McGee to fill this position.
Second.
Seconded.
Discussion? Call the vote.
Councilperson Bryant?
Aye.
Councilperson Carpenter?
Aye.
Councilperson Handstein?
Aye.
Councilperson McGee?
Abstain.
Supervisor Ryder?
Aye.
Resolution 18, deputy town clerk, salary at $14.63 per hour, paid monthly. Resolved, the town board establishes the office of deputy town clerk to assist the town clerk in records management, tax collection, producing meeting minutes, and to act for and in place of the town clerk in his or her absence. Further resolved, the town clerk appoints Susan Thompson to fill this position.
Second. Virginia. Any discussion? Call the vote.
Councilperson Bryant?
Aye.
Councilperson Carpenter?
Aye.
Councilperson Handstein?
Aye.
Councilperson McGee?
Aye.
Supervisor Ryder?
Aye.
Resolution 19, planning board clerk, salary at $14.63 per hour, paid monthly. Resolved, the town board establishes the office of planning board clerk to act as the secretary for the planning board to keep minutes, schedule meetings, and other support functions the board may need or require. And further resolved, the town board appoints Susan Thompson to fill this position.
Second.
Second.
Discussion? Call the vote.
Councilperson Bryant?
Aye.
Councilperson Carpenter?
Aye.
Councilperson Handstein?
Aye.
Councilperson McGee?
Aye.
Supervisor Ryder?
Aye.
Resolution 20, code enforcement officer, salary at $28,213.53 per year, paid monthly. Resolve the town board appoints Alan Teeter to fill the position of code enforcement officer.
Second.
Second.
Discussion? Call the vote.
Councilperson Bryant?
Aye.
Councilperson Carpenter?
Aye.
Councilperson Handstein?
Aye.
Councilperson McGee?
Aye.
Supervisor Ryder?
Aye.
Resolution 21, court clerk, salary at $11,298.72 per year, paid monthly. Resolve the town justice appoints Tiffany Poole to fill this position.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. Call the vote.
Councilperson Bryant?
Aye.
Councilperson Carpenter?
Aye.
Councilperson Handstein?
Aye.
Councilperson McGee?
Aye.
Supervisor Ryder?
Aye.
Resolution 22, cemetery groundskeepers, in quotes, 2 individuals, in parentheses, salary at $1,846.04 each per year, paid monthly in June, July, August, and September. Resolve the town board appoints Wayne A. Snyder and Wayne C. Snyder to fill these positions.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. Call the vote.
Councilperson Bryant?
Aye.
Councilperson Carpenter?
Aye.
Councilperson Handstein?
Aye.
Councilperson McGee?
Aye.
Supervisor Ryder?
Aye.
Resolution 23, comprehensive plan writing committee clerk, salary at $14.63 per hour, paid monthly. Resolve the town board establishes the position of planning board clerk to act as the secretary for the comprehensive plan writing committee, to keep minutes and schedule meetings and other support functions the committee may need or require. And further resolve, the town board appoints Susan Thompson to fill this position.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. Call the vote.
Councilperson Bryant?
Aye.
Councilperson Carpenter? Councilperson Handstein?
Aye.
Councilperson McGee?
Aye.
Supervisor Ryder?
Aye.
Resolution 24, town hall custodian, salary of $25 per week, paid monthly. Community building custodian, salary of $14.63 per hour, paid monthly. Resolved, the town board appoints Alice Linton and Zachary Snyder to fill these positions.
Second.
Second.
I thought we decided that Zachary wasn't doing a good job last meeting.
Do you see any vote on it?
Vote on what?
Changing.
No, but if he's not doing a good job, why is he staying there doing it? That's my question.
Well,
Did he shave up? Did we talk to him?
Yeah.
Talk to him?
well, I'm working with Zach.
Fair enough.
And if I have a recommendation for a change in personnel, I'll certainly bring it to the board. Any other discussion? Call the vote.
Councilperson Bryant?
Aye.
Councilperson Carpenter?
Aye.
Councilperson Handstein?
Aye.
Councilperson McGee?
Aye.
Supervisor Ryder?
Aye.
Resolution 25, public officials / town employees pay schedule. Resolve the following salaries and pay schedule for all town officials and employees is approved for 2017. Change that to
Oh, I missed that one.
town supervisor, $16,561.08 per year, paid monthly. Town council persons, $2,950.57 each year, paid quarterly. Town clerk, $16,561.08 per year, paid monthly. Town justice, $15,422.40 per year, paid monthly. Highway superintendent, $55,942.20 per year, paid monthly. Laborers, hiring rate, $14.93 per hour, paid biweekly. Machine equipment operator, motor equipment operator, hiring rate, $14.93 per hour, After 90 days, rate will be increased to the working rate, $15.91 per hour. MEOs with 3 years or less of time in service will receive an additional $1 per hour on his or her anniversary date of hire until reaching a minimum of $18.97 per hour. Maximum rate for MEOs, $22.19 per hour, paid biweekly. Part-time and seasonal employees will have a higher rate of $14.63 per hour to $16 per hour. Merit increases, an employee may receive a pay increase based upon the employee's past performance. The merit increase will be granted at the discretion of the town board.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I have a question. The town council person's salary, was it decided by the town board at the budget approval that the salary would not increase for that? I knew that there was discussion about that, and
We did have discussion. I didn't actually go back and look, and maybe we know about.
You think there was a vote taken?
There wasn't a vote. We talked about it at a meeting, and I think at one point, I just said that I'm happy to not have an increase in mine. Beth spoke up from the audience saying that she was happy to not have an increase in hers, even though she wasn't a council person yet at that point, but that may be as far as that comment went. I didn't actually follow through to see what happened in the end.
just curious.
I wasn't suggesting that none of the council persons get an increase. I was just saying I'm happy to not have one in mind.
I think I would. I think I agreed with that for my part.
We were just trying to keep the budget down. And we did pretty well. We stayed under the cap. That's great.
Any other discussion? Call the vote.
Councilperson Bryant?
Aye.
Councilperson Carpenter?
Aye.
Councilperson Handstein?
Aye.
Councilperson McGee?
Aye.
Supervisor Ryder?
Aye. I'll make resolution 26, 2017. Whereas the town board asked for letters of interest regarding a vacancy on the Town of Enfield Planning Board, and whereas the town board received one letter of interest from Rob Tesori, 570 Black Oak Road, I believe it's Enfield, New York. Therefore, I move that Rob Tesori be placed on the planning board with an end date of December 31st, 2021.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the vote.
Councilperson Bryant?
Aye.
Councilperson Carpenter?
Aye.
Councilperson Handstein?
Aye.
Councilperson McGee?
Aye.
Supervisor Ryder?
Aye.
Can we then go back to resolution number 27,
27. You want to read that?
town board appointments?
Town board appointments.
Am I allowed to say that previously read words will apply, and we'll go to the last line, which is planning board? Dan Walker, term ends 2020. Pony Carpenter, term ends 2017. Ann Chafee, term ends 2018. Steve Gibbon, term ends 2019. And now Rob Tesori, whose term will end
2021.
2021.
Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, it's down there, okay.
Discussion?
Can we add, per resolution, 26?
You can add
after
anything you
Rob
want.
Tesori's name, just so we have the order?
Per resolution 26.
After his name.
Gotcha.
That's why this one was done after that resolution.
I understand that, but that explains it in case someone's looking at that.
Just so we know when we go back.
Any other discussion? Called vote?
Councilperson Bryant?
Aye.
Councilperson Carpenter?
Aye.
Councilperson Handstein?
Aye.
Councilperson McGee?
Aye.
Supervisor Ryder?
Aye. Those are the organizational resolutions. Now we go to audit claims.
They're still not all signed.
Oh, they're still not all signed.
No.
Oh.
I've been busy talking. Did you sign these yet?
No, I signed those.
Couldn't see you.
Well, I have no correspondence. Forgot to bring the correspondence folder. No county legislature is here. Highway superintendent's report.
This is just to show you one of our trucks, and since the audit, I'm supposed to inform you of more. This truck needs a new box on it. It's a '01. We have a '09. So we've pretty much decided we're gonna buy a new box for the '09 and put the '09 box on the '01. And it's gonna run between, I got estimates from $4,400 to $5,500 plus painting on it. And the reason being, the '01, somewhere down the road, it will be the first truck to go. That's the next one in line as far as the small trucks. And the '09 we have to keep till, till 2019, because it was bought with CHIPS money. Plus, that's more of a truck that we use. So that's the plan on that. Both sides are like that, so we decided it wasn't worth repairing. And then here's the 284 form agreement for maintenance of the roads.
Okay. I'm gonna have the board look at this and we'll get back to you.
When?
Next meeting.
Okay.
Do we have a stream project that needs to be put in for that grant or whatever?
I put one in the last couple of years and we come where near close to getting anything, so.
Are you planning to this year?
I don't know, I have to check with my secretary.
Oh. If you decide to, would you share that with the board?
I probably would.
Okay. Code enforcement officers report.
Have an annual report. For the year I issued 69 building permits, which is down 10 from last year. 8 of those were for new homes, which is down a little bit from last year. Did 11 solar permits, which was down from last year. We had 22, which is why the total permits are down a little bit. I did a total of 27 certificates of occupancy or completion. I did 75 inspections, 140 progress checks. Received 7 complaints for the year, which was down quite a bit from previous years. I did a total of 12 fire and safety inspections. Issued 1 operating permit, 3 address numbers, installed 19 of the greenhouse signs. Received a total of 24 training hours for the year. The total of improvements for the year, I totaled up, I just did houses and building projects, was $1,375,000. The total solar projects this year, because of the 2 solar farms, was $5,368,000. I'm not sure how that's gonna turnout with the taxes, as far as if they're gonna raise the assessment on those properties for the solar projects. But that's quite an increase in tax base if they do. One other thing I wanted to mention, I talked to Norm Smith today, this is more facilities. He wanted me to ask about the 2 lights in the town hall. He tried to repair one of those today, and apparently that one's not working either, he couldn't get it to work. So he was hoping to replace both the lights there. One's been out for a while, and the other one, or one he took down when they painted, and the other one he just took down. And the cost for those was about $500 for the new LED lights plus installation. So I just wanted to bring that to the board and see. if they-
500 for each?
250 each.
250 each. 500 total.
Correct.
One on the building and one on the light pole?
He did the one on the light pole tonight, got that one working, but
Oh, he
there's
did.
2 on the front of the building and neither are working now.
2 on the front of the building that aren't working.
I believe so. Yes, 2 that are not working, so.
Oh, I
So the
didn't.
parking lot's kinda dark out there.
I didn't know there were 2 on the building.
The last thing, I have not talked to Justice Poole about the roof out here on the front of the building, but I would do that in the next couple of weeks. See if we can get an estimate for that. So, that's what I have. Are there any questions?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I have a question. Well, Enfield opted out of that solar farm.
Yeah. I'm not sure how that works with assessment.
Well, we'll be finding out. I've got that file at home, so I can't answer that. Buddy,
There's 1 or 2 things I forgot to add. The GFI breakers, they got put in, and we're having problems with one because it runs the exhaust fans and the gas monitor for gases or whatever. But that's breaking all the time, so I guess we're gonna have to put a regular one back in that one.
I would think so, yeah,
And they
probably.
couldn't do the east wall because there are 3 wire outlets. So they just did the west wall and the north wall with GFI breakers. But that one we're having trouble with breaking all the time. And also we're having problems with one heater system breaking the breaker this last week. One called Donahue, I was sort of waiting because we hadn't paid them yet from the work that they did with the boiler and stuff. And I didn't want to call them back until we got that.
The east wall, is that the wall of the break room in the office, or is that an outside wall that you're talking about?
The what wall?
Well, the east wall is.
The east wall where
it's
the
not an
bay
out-
doors are.
Right, it's not an outside wall though, right?
Yes,
It is an outside wall?
yes.
Okay,
It's the whole shop wall.
So it's the wall of the break room and the wall of the office on the outside?
No, it's the wall of the
Doors.
shop area with the bay doors in it.
Okay, I was thinking of that as north, but I must be crooked a little bit in my mind, yeah. So,
That's the one that's 3 wired and they couldn't put one in there at all.
yeah.
So I don't know what their suggestion would be as far as running that other stuff where that breaker's breaking. We start a vehicle up and it breaks the breaker because the sensors go off for the exhaust fan.
Right, and the fan, yeah.
Other
Well,
than that,
there's a lot of money to spend down there.
And then, on that 284, if that's, not approved, there'll be no road repair if it takes materials because I'm not supposed to spend any money on materials unless that's signed. So, just wanted to let you know that.
thanks for the rules.
Are either of these signatures yours? These are- they don't get through.
How are we coming on the audits?
We're about done.
So I'll do the supervisor's report. I attended the TCOG meeting. The county will be starting an emergency services task force committee in the coming year to see if there are ways to consolidate services in the county. I attended a committee meeting on community choice aggregation. I met with Zachary Snyder regarding cleaning the community building and getting him on payroll. Held 2 special meetings to pass budget amendments for end of the year line overruns, and worked with the bookkeeper to start to close out the books at the end of 2016. I believe I sent that to you digitally.
No, you did not.
Well, I'll send it to you digitally. So we'll start committee reports. Planning Board, Dan Walker.
How, you don't want the, never mind.
Well, we've started to get some activity in the new year already. We've got 3 public hearings scheduled for the first meeting in February. One for solar farm on Aiken and Podunk Road. One for a new cell tower off of Fish Road to bring cell service to this area. And one for commercial or retail building on Mecklenburg Road, just west of the Dandy Mart there. Got all the application materials in for those, the plans, so there'll be 3 public hearings in one night.
What are they gonna sell there, Dan, at retail? What are they gonna sell at that retail building?
Dry goods. They have not put a name on the plan, but it's supposedly a budget department store, about 9,000 square feet space. So there's some concerns there about traffic safety because of the nature of Mecklenburg Road in that area and the lack of adherence to the speed limits of people driving on that road. So we've expressed that, and they've rearranged the driveway so it's a little higher up on the hill. It's on top of the knoll instead of below the crest of the knoll, which could be troublesome. The cell tower came in for a sketch plan its last meeting. They had all their application materials together, but didn't have time to set a public hearing beforehand. And this is a cell tower to increase bandwidth coverage and also just normal cell phone coverage. And it's going to cover pretty much the hamlet area in this area. They're finding that due to the high usage of digital machines, there's not enough bandwidth to provide adequate service to everyone. So you may have noticed there's a new tower going up in the town of Ithaca off of Mecklenburg Road, and this tower's proposed on Fish Road. I asked them if they had considered the Podunk Road County Telecommunications Tower, the Emergency Management Tower, and they said, well, we think there's one going there too. So they're putting these things about 1 mile to 2 miles apart just to get adequate coverage. We asked them if they had looked at the data tower that was just put up last year or 2 years ago, Clarity Connect's tower.
Clarity Connect.
But that wasn't located in the right space to cover the area that they want to cover, so.
It didn't improve coverage.
No, they said they had no other co-location, high enough structures in this area, so that'll be about a 110-foot tower. And there's no windmill going on the top, so we should be safe.
Well, that brings up, I hate to bring this up, Dan, but are there any negative implications of those communications towers?
It's a tower. It's going to be a monopole type tower.
Right.
They're leasing the property for it, and there's nothing within the fall zone of that tower that's.
I was more concerned with the signals that it's sending out. I mean.
What do you mean?
Well, it's sending out some kind of a signal, right? and it's amped up to go to a larger distance.
It's setting, the biggest danger with the cell towers for radiation is what you put up against your head,
Right,
because that's right next to your brain.
right.
But they do propagation studies, and they've provided materials as far as the signal strength and the impacts
Yeah.
on the ground.
And while it's true that I do put this cell phone against my head, I actually don't leave it there 24 hours a day, 7
Right.
days a week, 52 days a,
But-
whereas somebody living close by, actually, if it was damaging to them, it could be an issue.
They do have in the packet a propagation study that showed the relative electromagnetic wave strengths, and it's within acceptable levels.
Oh God, that language just sounds so awful to me. Within acceptable levels. God, we've been through this for how many years now?
Yeah. No, I've looked at other sites and reviewed other sites like this, and
Yeah.
they're it's very low radiation, really,
Yeah.
at the ground level. So.
I just will hope that 10 years from now, somebody doesn't come up with.
Well, it's the three-headed frogs that are running around in the fields below them that
I
you have
know
to worry
that's-
about. So.
yeah. I'm not so much worried about the hogs, I'm worried about kids more than anything.
Yeah.
I'm an old guy, I could die from it, I don't really care, but I don't want kids to be impacted by it. I think I'm gonna leave that one in the
If
well-made.
There will be public hearing. If
planning
you have
board's
concerns
hands.
about that, you're welcome to come and make a comment.
I really appreciate it.
On
Thank you so
February
much.
1st.
That's great.
February.
I did have one question.
Yes.
Will you be getting in touch with Rob Desoria and getting him whatever materials he needs? So if he can be there
Yes,
at the next meeting?
yeah, we've talked to
Okay.
him, so.
Great, thanks.
I'll talk to Sue, and she always puts a book together for the new planning board members.
Great,
So.
that's really good.
I have a question.
Sure.
The cell tower, does it look similar to the one that's on Mecklenburg Road in the town of Ithaca that's going up on Fish
It's
Road, or is it one of
almost
those
identical
giant
to
ones?
that.
Okay.
It's 110 foot tall, I believe. That one's about 105 feet. They said they were familiar with it. So.
Is that the one on John Ranchester's land
Yes.
across from Meeker Village?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in. And this will be back in, away from the road. They're gonna put some screening. They basically have an access road up. This is, it's not gonna be a big visual impact.
It doesn't trigger a large seeker.
I've been asking for long form forms on these, and they provided that already. So, doesn't require an environmental impact statement. Let's just say this, the town planning board will be the lead agency for the environmental review. And I anticipate that based on the materials we presented, I haven't gone through it with the board yet, but that we will probably be doing a declaration of environmental significance for this, so that would not require an environmental impact statement.
Thank you.
Who's the developer?
APC, it's a tower developer, it's gonna be a Verizon is their first, but it will be open to occupancy by any of the cell companies. But Verizon is.
They'll have a lot of little round things on them.
They will have three arrays with, I think it's 3 antennas, about 4 to 5 foot high antenna, the rectangular ones, at the top of the tower. And they'll have some smaller radio antennas behind those. So it's going to have less on it right now than the tower over on Van Doors Road does. The one,
Now.
Now, right, so. But it's basically going to be serving the Enfield community that doesn't get adequate service currently.
I think I would just like to note that after reading all of these things in resolution 26 and everybody's salaries, that the planning board, which has 5 members, actually doesn't get paid at all.
So we're happy
for
to
any of their
volunteer.
time. So I think that's
true.
really commendable.
So,
Which towns can pay planning board members?
yeah, I think
I learned today.
the Ithaca planning board members get, I think, $50 a meeting if they show up.
Well, I was advised not to do it that way if we paid, that everyone should get a salary, but since no one gets a salary, I don't have to worry about it at this point in time,
So,
Thanks.
whether it's per meeting or salary.
So that's about it, and I've, Sue, you got me a Word copy of the site plan review law, and I'm still working on
Oh.
revisions on that to
Okay,
include
good.
language about solar projects and a few
Good.
other little things that we've looked at there, so. Just gotta, it's in the queue.
Okay, all right.
Right, next month.
Okay.
Thanks, Ed.
Carolyn, I was rude. Oh, well, I might have asked you if you'd
We
be
had a
up here.
conversation at
Well,
one point.
we did. I wasn't totally rude.
So the Recreation Partnership met on December 20th, 2016, for the last meeting of the year, and we discussed appointment of board members. So we have the option as a town to appoint a member to represent the town at the Recreation Partnership. You also have the option to appoint an alternate if you wish, who could vote if I were not present. The reason I mention that now, that you might want to consider it, is that this is a year when the agreement needs to be rewritten and reapproved. So in 2018, there will be a new recreation partnership agreement between the towns, the county, Ithaca City, and it's all the towns, the county, and Ithaca City. And then there are some highlights that were mentioned of the recreation partnership programs this year.
And that was the correspondence I got.
Yes. And so that also, that correspondence may have included this yellow form, which is the highlights of the agreement and important key points. So not just the legalese, but a cheat sheet for it to share with your board members. And if there are any important points that you want me to advocate for the town, I certainly will do that. Otherwise, my priority is to make sure that those services remain accessible to rural folks.
Good.
The highlights of the recreation partnership programs through the Ithaca Youth Bureau, they're right now are working on what they call a scholarship roadmap, particularly for summer camp, trying to pay for summer camp if you are a low-income family and need to work, requires that you work with DSS, and it's never clear how that works. So they're working, the folks at the Ithaca Youth Bureau are working with the organizations in town, including Tompkins County Department of Social Services, to try and put together a packet for families with all the forms that are needed so that they can be given to families in sort of a one-stop thing. And I would recommend that maybe our day camp also talk to Youth Bureau about getting access to that information so that we can encourage families to make choices that are appropriate for them and be able to get the childcare that they need during the summer, whether it's through the Youth Bureau or through our council summer camp. They did a reformat on the iPlaybook, so it's smaller. It lists the different programs. It comes in a nifty little magazine-style copy now. And they are planning to list the recreation partnership members and the board representatives in the August issue now. The summer camps down at the recreation partnership were both fully funded. And they're developing a new leadership job training program for folks for the CIT program, the counselor and training program. So they've transformed that program into a job training program, particularly focused towards low-income families who might need the support. Baseball and softball have really taken off in the programs, and the Binghamton Rumble Ponies have started coming up to their baseball camps to teach kids how to throw and how to pitch. So they're volunteering their time and signing baseballs, etc. for kids. It's one of the programs our kids in particular use. And there is now a new softball coach at Ithaca City School District, and they are trying to partner with Youth Bureau to develop a very strong softball
program not coached by volunteers, but actually coached by Ithaca City staff, coaching staff, and/or some of the players on the Ithaca City softball teams. There were several student fundraisers for the Ithaca Youth Bureau Recreation Partnership Programs, where students of the arts programs applied classroom knowledge in that they built bowls for ice cream and then sold those bowls for a fundraiser to put back into the arts program. And there's a really great picture on their website about it. The kids participating. It was designed by kids to raise money for their programs. And the Ithaca College is collaborating with the Youth Bureau now, and the students that are taking the recreation major are now working as program managers down at the Ithaca Youth Bureau as part of their classroom work. So they're spending less salary money because the kids are getting experience and volunteering their time to do that. So they're gaining access to more resources. And they have started a new type of program where they're looking at recreation for both parent and child pairs. So the first thing to come out is going to be tag rugby, which I was pretty amazed by. So little kids and their parents are going to be playing rugby together, and they're working to develop more programs because of the interest expressed by folks to work with parents and kids playing together. The next meeting is February 28th at 5 p.m. at the Ithaca Youth Bureau. They typically meet fourth Tuesday, but we don't meet every month. So there's a list of meetings, February 28th, March 28th, April 25th, June 27th. There are three budget meetings, the June meeting, and then in July on the 11th and on the 18th if needed, and October 24th and December 19th for the end of the year stuff. Any questions?
Questions? Can I ask a question? I happened to be talking to some people the other day about what it used to be like to play sports 50, 60 years ago. It was very different than when you wanted to play baseball or you wanted to play soccer or you wanted to play football. You usually went up to the school on Saturday or after school or Sunday or whatever, and whoever wanted to play would show up there, and whatever kind of ball got brought, that was usually what you played. And it was great. And some people I talked to the other day said, you know, I remember doing that as a kid. Why don't they have programs like that? Why don't they have programs where there's some loose organization where somebody can watch it at least, you know, and make sure that, you know, these days nobody wants their kids to be alone anywhere without supervision. So what about the idea of having supervised programs that are actually not, let's make up teams with coaches and legal referees and fancy fields and this whole thing, and then everybody wants to win and the whole thing. What about programs where people 8 years old, 10 years old, 12 years old, 16 years old could just go play baseball together on afternoons and have a chance to meet each other, get along with each other, play with each other, care for each other? It was a good way to do it. You know, I actually coached recreational soccer for over 40 years. Never got paid for it. Didn't really need to get paid for it. And I would love to coach soccer very loosely, which is what I did. I coached it very loosely, and my kids are all grown up and out of it. But I'd love to spend a Saturday morning up sitting at the elementary school over here, keeping the ball inflated and keeping kids from kicking each other too hard or whatever, or talking to them when there's a fight or something, and just watch them play soccer, you know, and put cones out in the corners and just play. Is there any possibility that the Recreation Partnership Youth Bureau would have any interest in helping facilitate that to happen?
I don't know the answer to that question. I have two thoughts. The first is it is something the community council would very easily be able to work on as well, provided there was some form of staffing. Unfortunately, we do live in a legal sort of age, and that
and with kids in particular, that creates some restrictions. I do know that when my kids participated in the youth bureau, particularly as young kids, maybe not after 10, but easily as young kids, there wasn't a lot of competition. Mostly it was organized chaos when they played sports. And if you actually hit the ball, there was a great deal of cheering. So the youth bureau itself doesn't stress a great deal of competition until it's age appropriate.
Oh, but the coaches do.
Possibly.
Oh, they do, I promise
Because they're
you.
all volunteer coaches, so they come with their agendas.
Yeah.
There is training, et cetera, but I can certainly propose it either here or at the community council, providing the minimum is done that's needed to keep kids safe.
Right.
The school will have rules and or require insurance. If you have an activity on
You can
their school
actually,
grounds.
you can actually work through the youth bureau to use the school, because we've done it before.
Yes, well, there are multiple venues for doing that, because you can do it through the community council as well. But the bigger problem is really having the accident insurance that is needed to sort of umbrella the programs.
Right.
But I can ask about that, again, because they're interested in looking at parent and kid pairs. That changes the need for perhaps a coach, someone with an agenda. So you could perhaps easily create programs like that, and I'll bring it to our next meeting.
Great,
on the
thanks so
28th.
much, I appreciate it.
Not a problem.
I want to say louder to the audience, if anyone is interested in becoming more involved in the wider community, there is an opening as an alternate to the recreational partnership. You need to contact me or a board member regarding your interest. Enfield Volunteer Fire Company.
Okay, the total calls for December were 26, 16 EMS calls, 5 MVAs, 1 with injuries, 4 without injuries, 1 mutual aid to Trumansburg, 1 good intent call, and 3 service calls. The total calls for 2016 were 297, and there is a blood drive January 17th.
Facilities manager.
I didn't do anything with facilities other than read lots of paperwork this week in relation to what we're gonna do at the highway department building.
Did you get my copy of the building report?
Oh yeah, I read that again.
You did?
A couple times, yeah.
All right.
Just trying to figure out where to go from here. It's not easy, I think, to take the path that we need to take. Basically, it involves money, which is not easy.
Okay. Comprehensive Plan Writing Committee?
Significant portion of the plan is written. It is in an editing phase, and I hope to ramp that up in the next month or two, and have a more finished product that can start being formatted and then be presented to the board this year.
Tompkins County Council of Governments basically was trying to fill positions, leadership positions for the coming year. There's also real interest in many municipalities on aggregate choice and cooperating on lighting deals and other cooperation deals. I'm not sure whether Enfield's going to be interested in any of the cooperations, but I'll keep you informed. Next on the, we'll enter into old business, and we are going to entertain a motion that has been made before. Henry, you probably have, I have it here, not sure. And this is gonna be resolution, something that Alice tells us.
I think we had, I think so.
28?
It is. The last one we did for the town board appointments was 27.
Yep.
Henry, do you want to read your proposed resolution?
Sure. Whereas on the 8th of March 2010, the Town of Enfield and Black Oak Wind LLC, the project sponsor, signed a developer's agreement intended to indemnify and hold the town harmless to the fullest extent permitted by law from and against all third-party claims, expenses, losses, liabilities, damages, judgments, suits, and legal proceedings, and any and all costs and expenses arising in connection therewith, including attorneys and experts' fees arising out of or in any manner connected with this agreement and the project. And whereas the developer's agreement defines project review costs as any and all reviews by the town and its engineers and attorneys, the cost and expenses thereof, excluding any outside of Tompkins County travel time, and all other reasonable and necessary expenses of the town. And whereas the developer's agreement states that such determination of what expenses are reasonable and necessary shall be made by the town in its sole discretion. And whereas the developer's agreement states that the developer shall pay for such review costs, now therefore be it resolved that the town of Enfield, using the sole discretion granted in the developer's agreement, hereby determines that reviews by the town and its engineers and attorneys of any and all FOIL requests regarding the Black Oak Wind LLC project referenced in the aforementioned developer's agreement fall into the category of any and all reviews by the town and its engineers and attorneys. Therefore, all past, present, and future costs of reviews by attorneys of project FOIL requests shall be paid by the project in accordance with the terms as defined in the developer's agreement, and the town is indemnified and held harmless with respect to same.
Second.
And I also just wanted to read just a brief statement here.
No, we've got a second, so we're discussing.
Sorry, Henry. I
Okay.
seconded too soon.
Oh, that's
But now we can
This is-
discuss.
Have you finished reading the resolution?
Yeah,
We need a second.
Second.
Now we can discuss.
okay,
And I guess you're recognized.
yeah. Well, first I just want to say that I have no personal interest, no significant personal relationships, either with Black Oak developers and investors or any of the local residents, although I've met the people on both sides of the issue. And I consider myself to be impartial and unbiased. If I were an investor who, in good faith, invested my time and money with the intent of doing my small part to reduce carbon emissions and hopefully make a profit, I certainly wouldn't want to see the project die. On the other hand, given what I've learned about the negative health effects suffered by some people with homes in close proximity to industrial wind turbines, I would be deeply troubled if they were proposed to be built within 1,000 feet of my home. Given the controversial and divisive nature of this project, as a board member, I feel that following our laws and agreements as closely as possible should be a very high priority. That's the point of the resolution, is just to follow the laws and not make exceptions. Given the never-ending shortage of funds and a desire to keep taxes as low as possible, I'm deeply troubled that we have already spent tens of thousands of dollars on legal reviews of BALF-related FOIL requests, with more likely to come. Our developer's agreement clearly states that any and all project-related review costs by engineers and attorneys are to be paid by the project. The developer's agreement does not state that project-related FOIL requests are exempt. Since the legal process and approval includes public input, and the public needs to be informed in order to provide this input, it is expected that the public will request project-related documents from the town. If these project-related documents need to be reviewed by our engineers and attorneys prior to being released to the public, it seems clear to me that these costs are covered under the developer's agreement. Obviously, the town would not have incurred these costs absent the BALF project. 2 attorneys hired by the town stated that this is a gray area of the law and could be challenged in court. Law is not like math. Often there is no right or wrong answer. Regarding my position that the project should pay the cost of project-related FOIL review costs, one of our attorneys stated that, and this is Guy-Crow, reasonable minds may disagree. So it's not a cut and dried yes or no answer. Another stated, I'm not saying you're wrong. A third told me that the town has a strong case for demanding payment for project-related FOIL review costs. And so we've been told that it could be challenged in court if we ask Black Oak to pay for those review costs, which the last I knew was $20,000 that taxpayers had spent on them. It's probably more by now. But personally, I think the developer's agreement with the words any and all in it makes it pretty clear that they're supposed to pay for these legal fees and engineering fees. So
I listened to the same lawyers. I disagree. I think that it's clear in New York state law that the cost of FOIL is a cost borne by the town. Sometimes, as in our history, it has been very seldom used. More currently in our history, it's being often used, but it does not change my belief that the lawyers said we're treading on very slippery ground, demanding recovery of the costs of FOIL, which is a cost of doing business of the town. I also am very sure that in the seeker regulations, towns cannot unendingly demand review costs. It's written in the law. Were you able to bring that hard copy with you?
Of where the limits are?
Of the law, or of the handbook?
I didn't bring it with me, no. I didn't even know I was supposed to.
I emailed you.
Did you? I didn't see that email, that's funny. Was it on the town website?
Is it on the town website?
Was it on the town email number, or was it on the private email?
Well, you know, I didn't print it out. I didn't print it out.
I don't remember seeing it, and that, I'm really not trying to prevaricate, I'm just saying I really don't remember.
I solidly believe that in the New York State seeker law, there is a limit to how much money a municipality can demand from a project for environmental review costs. And I do not think that a local town can pass a resolution that's in opposition to a state law. I think if the town passed a law that said we could frack in the town of Enfield, that would go against state law, and our law would be null and void, and I don't see a big difference. I think we have to keep our resolutions within the boundaries of, or the umbrella is state law and state regulations. And I am positive that within the seeker, this is addressed and stated clearly.
Could I respond to that, Henry? Is that fair?
Other discussion,
If you'd like to
other
go first, it's fine.
discussion.
Pardon?
If you want to go first, it's fine.
Oh, well, it sounds like you're saying that at some point, the town is gonna be responsible for all of our legal fees related to the project. Once Bauth has spent a certain amount of money, then we have to pay for everything else?
I believe that, yes.
And what is that number and how close are we to it?
Well, I asked for help on that, and I didn't get the help within the time I asked it, and I'll research it further.
No, could I say something?
More discussion.
Oh, definitely. No, this has got a ways to go. In response to what you just said to Ann, I think it's true. I mean, there are state laws that say this, that, and the other. I don't know that you stated what state laws would actually respond to Henry's resolution. I know that there are limits, but we don't know that we've gone over the limits, or that we haven't gone over the limits. My understanding, and I'm definitely not a lawyer, and I don't want to pretend to be one, especially with lawyers sitting here at the meeting already, but I did take a law course once from actually a lawyer. And the one thing that he said to me, rather anecdotally, was that in legal matters, especially having to do with governments and business, that often things will seem logical and the verbiage seems quite correct. And it seemed like it would be very clear what it says, is I feel like what Henry just read says very clearly that they should be paying for it. I do know that precedent, legal precedent, things that have happened before, and judgments and decisions that have made before, however, often take precedent over what seems logical. The way he described it anecdotally was to say that logic and correct verbiage is the ace in a card game, and actually legal precedent is the trump. So the trump always beats the ace, basically. And I understand that conceptually pretty well. And I understand that what could happen with Henry's resolution is that we could go to court on it, and the court could say, yeah, the developers agreement does say that. However, in Jeffrey versus Davis or whatever, 3 times, 4 times, 10 times in the past, we've dealt with this. It's been decided this way. It's not up to me to say that your language or your verbiage in this particular agreement is stronger, as a stronger argument than what has happened in the past. So basically, judges just say, I'm going to punt, and because somebody else already said it, I don't even have to worry about it. I mean, that's my take on it. It's a little bit cynical, I'm afraid, but that's what I think happens in courts of law. That being said, precedent can be changed. A legal decision can overturn a past decision when it seems correct, and I really admire Henry's courage in going forth with this resolution. I admire the town of Enfield's courage if we decide to pass this law, and I think if it's going to be slippery going, we got to get on our boots, and we live in upstate New York, we're used to slippery, so we'll just do our best and go from here.
I have a copy of Guy's letter here, the first time he was asked about this, if you want me to read that again.
Well, why don't you, to refresh our memory, add to the discussion?
Yeah. Guy says, I say that the duties of the town to respond to a FOIL request are general town duties that arise by law. I agree with that, but these are not general FOIL requests. These are specific to Bauth. Regardless of whether there was an application, that was my comment.
Okay, thank you.
Regardless of whether there was an application or an environmental impact statement or supplemental environmental impact statement process pending, the town would still have to answer. And I don't quite understand what he means by that. We wouldn't have to answer if there wasn't a project. We wouldn't have these FOIL requests. Thus, such expenses do not strike me as inherently related to a review of the developer's application of the EIS or the SEIS. Additionally, they are citizen-based or committee-based requests, and the source of the expense belies that this expense was incurred for the developer's benefit. And that strikes me as odd. That line strikes me as odd. It belies that this expense was incurred for the developer's benefit. Well, there are a lot of expenses that aren't for the developer's benefit that they have to cover. I mean, they're paying for reviews of the decommissioning plan. They're paying for reviews of the dispute resolution and community relations and dispute resolution plan, and those don't benefit the developer. They benefit the residents. So I'm not sure why Guy is saying that since it doesn't benefit the developer, then maybe they shouldn't have to pay for it. So then he goes on to say, this is why I was always a bit more aggressive and circumspect in my proposed replies when FOIL was clearly being abused. Reasonable minds can disagree, but just be careful not to disagree yourself into a corner and then have to explain this to a judge or the Committee on Open Government. Yes, the developer's agreement gives the town a leg to stand on, but one leg is a precarious perch when those opposed to you own chainsaws. So,
good old Guy.
Yeah. So then he goes on to say, safest course is to work out some amount by agreement and liquidate the liability, particularly if the town has exceeded the 1/2% rule. I have real doubts that the EIS and SEIS regulations can be trumped by a developer's agreement, and you then get into a position of trying to defend something that is more akin to revenue raising and not a developer's fee or expense. Well, there's certainly no revenue raising. We're losing revenue by paying for the FOIL request. We're just trying to recoup our expenses, so I'm not sure how anybody could interpret that as revenue raising. But
well, I don't want to talk too much, but I have another thing to say. Am I
Well,
interrupting anybody?
I'll recognize board members.
Something that came into my mind earlier today, the second time I read your resolution through, and it got brought even stronger into my mind with listening to Marcus today when he was making comments and as we've gone through. And it also came out of a conversation I had with Guy Crowe as well in the past. And the conversation with him was that at some point, the town board has to decide that Black Oak Wind Farm has not complied with their requests for information and needs to tell them that their application is now null and void and that they will have to reapply. He said it's up to the town board to decide on that, but I'm personally thinking that we're getting much closer to that. In fact, we may be there already. I feel like we've asked them to submit information for Donnie Gunny's wind tower, which is apparently not legally placed, for Rich Teeter's wind tower, which apparently he doesn't want to have anymore, and maybe or maybe not, his contract allows them to put it on his land. There's certainly a much larger question as to whether or not NYSEG will be able to put the substation on his land. It's been 3 months now, I think, since we asked for that, or at least 2 months since we asked for that information from Black Oak Wind Farm as to just exactly where the substation was going to go. And we're allowed to ask for that information in the context of our wind law. That's one of the things our wind law
unclear
said.
what that has to do with
Well, let me
this.
get there then, okay?
Well,
Okay, I'm working on it.
because
I
you're
am-
off topic.
No, I'm not actually. I'm really.
You're off topic.
I'm really on the way. But in my mind, your resolution might actually be better dealt with at this point in another way, at least with a better understanding or with more complete understanding of how the town wants to deal with Black Oak Wind Farm in the future. And if, in fact, we feel like there are issues in relation to their continuing involvement with it, I think we need to have a larger discussion as far as costs and what we're gonna ask them for, what we're willing to do in terms of our costs still, because we're still spending money with Labella, and as we speak, Labella is still working on these projects, and the money is still being spent for us. Hopefully, we'll get that money back. I mean, so far, they've paid every time we ask. We just are down right now, but hopefully we'll get that money back. And to me, there's a larger question here, which kind of oversees the FOIL review request. And I wish there was some way to actually communicate on a person-to-person level with someone from the wind farm. Apparently it's gotten to the point where that won't exist anymore. And my choice would be to go to them, just as Guy Crow says, and say, we need to talk about these things. We need to talk about whether you're going to continue to do this. Why haven't you sent this information? If you don't send it, we can't go on. If we can't go on, you owe us like $30,000 already. How are you ever going to pay it when you don't have any money coming in? Maybe we can make an understanding with them. Maybe we can come to some kind of a higher understanding that says, well, we'll accept some money back for the FOIL requests, and therefore you won't have to go to court and make us or get us to say we don't have to pay it to the town. It's more complicated, I think, or it could be more complicated than what this resolution entails. So my concern is that if Black Oak is willing, I would rather actually try and talk to them, face to face, have them come to the meeting and say, what's going on? You know, do you really want to do this still, or do you not want to do it? Why don't you comply to these letters we sent to you? Timing has been an issue in the past, and yet now it's been months and months since you've even talked to us about anything. I'm actually more concerned on a larger scale right now, and while I agree that the resolution has a lot of validity to it, we might go to court, we might win, we might lose, I don't know. I'd rather keep it out of court if we could. And to me, the only way I know of to keep it out of court is to talk with the people that might take you to court. So that's my
Yeah, that
take
makes sense.
Virginia?
Well, I absolutely agree that I think Black Oak needs to come to the table. I mean, I understand the resolution. I also understand, or I feel I understand from past experience, that state and federal laws and regulations trump anything we might come up with in terms of FOIL. I'm not so concerned about FOIL as I am concerned about the elephant in the room, that we cannot talk directly to Black Oak and ask them, why they can't come back with, I won't say they're simple things, but things we've asked for, letters we've asked for, or documents we've asked for. When we've said something isn't satisfactory, they just go off in a huff. And then we don't hear anything. I mean,
Well, they have put in modified or edited plans.
to some degree, and, but they can't operate in a vacuum from us.
Right.
That's the way it feels to me, is that they are attempting to do that. That's not gonna get them anywhere.
One question in my mind is if we pass this resolution, would Black Oak rather go to court, or would they rather negotiate some of these FOIL review costs with us?
And in my mind, I don't know what would be a better first step, to try
Yeah.
and talk first, or to try and pass the resolution and think of it as some kind of a impetus to make them come to us. I don't necessarily think it will, but we don't have anything else, so.
Do you have, something to add?
Couple. Unless I know exactly what, the 1/2 of 1% rule that he's speaking of, is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
That's
Unless I had the
that's the New York
details
State seeker.
about that, I wouldn't feel comfortable.
Pardon?
I would not feel comfortable voting on a resolution as the town making that decision, unless I had that information. However, it opens up a huge can of worms for me, that we are debating whether or not the town residents have to pay for something affiliated with this project. When we work for the residents of this town, we do not work for Black Oak Wind Farm. There are so many issues that have been neglected because we've wasted so many months of energy, months of hours of energy of every board for the last 10 years working on this. And the town boards have really, even with the questions that have come up, have moved through this process and done the work. There are many things that happen in this town that, like, we still don't have solar regulations, and yet we have another solar farm coming. We have 2 already in place, and yet we're allowing another one to come in without even making regulations about that. I'm really pleased that this process has gone through the way it's gone through. I'm really pleased that important information, as it changes, has come to light and caused the board to be more diligent about this. But again, we don't work for Black Oak, and I don't want this town incurring any more expense in time or energy on this project, on an application that I actually feel is completely out of date, that has lots of information on it that isn't even applicable anymore, and that we can't get the most imperative pieces of documentation required, or that we assume are required to complete this project. At the very least, I would like to have an official person affiliated with anything that is with regard to this project from NYSED to come here and talk to the board and tell us directly what they would require in this project. So we would know from NYSED what they would require. Because I don't want to rely on Black Oak to give us that information, because clearly we can't get it out of them. But I wouldn't want to deny something unless I had at least that information.
Okay.
But the problem with this resolution, to me, the problem it presents is like what you're talking about. When do we say that it's not up to these people or us to pay for their project to be successful or to be found as not compatible with our community? How much of that do we bear? So that is my real problem with this. My first instinct is to say, I'm all for it. But I think that it opens up a much bigger question that, honestly, I can't believe that over this many years that any board hasn't just made the decision at that, at any point, that it's just not coming together, and you need to regroup and come back to us when you're ready for the project to go through. I mean, because the law has been there. The town made a law for this process. The town expended the energy, the time to make a law for this process. So it wasn't like they were not interested in facilitating something like this to happen. But
Yes, there's the law.
yeah. But the law has not just been there for us to follow. Black Oak has been aware of it. They know what is required from them. And so, like, there was an article today just condemning the town and the community in Politico about Enfield. And I was stunned as I read it, because I couldn't believe, through all the work that we've done, that we're seen as dragging our feet.
What's Politico?
It's a national newspaper that follows politics, and there's a state version for New York. If you go and Google Politico.com, New York, you'll find it.
The article is called "Stalled Wind Project Shows Challenges for Cuomo's Energy Vision."
Well, I want to reiterate that Guy said it the more correct way, but foils are part of the open government law, and it is a cost that's borne by the town, and I don't think a developer's agreement trumps it.
But reasonable
Just
minds
like-
may disagree.
Just like I don't think that this resolution will trump the seeker rule that.
They could bankrupt us if they keep dragging it
uh,
out and they've reached the limit of their expenses. And, well,
Or if we keep dragging it out.
Yeah.
I mean, because seriously, like you said, it was advised that at some point, we need to make a determination.
Well,
How
at the very-
long do we let this go on?
at the very least, I don't think we should be spending any more money on reviews by Labella or our attorneys on Black Oak related projects until they've paid up what they owe and put the 15,000 surplus back in the account, I would say.
I thought the town already had a resolution for that.
Well, somehow they're in the hole again.
I've written a demand letter.
So
You've
then-
all gotten a copy of it.
So then there's no reason for any work to be done on it
Well,
until that
work's
time.
being done right now by Labella.
Yeah, well, I thought there was a resolution at a meeting just recently that I was at here that
Yeah.
said that that was not supposed to be happening when they were in the hole.
Well, there was a period of time when they were not in the hole, and work was ordered.
Well, Henry, just, I guess here's what I'm gonna ask you, and you can tell me either way you're comfortable or not. I would like to, at today's meeting, ask for whatever kind of thing you do, whether it's a resolution or I don't know what it is you do to make this happen, but I'd like to ask that we get advice from Guy Crow about what would be the legal ramifications at this point and how we should go about sending a letter to Black Oak, telling them that we would like them to, that we're gonna cancel their existing application because of non-response, and that we would like them to reapply at some point in the future. I would like to find out the legal way to do that. And I think what I would ask is that you would table this resolution until the next board meeting, until we get a response to that from a lawyer, just so I have a better understanding of where we stand in relation to this project. And I still feel like I'd give it a try and get that money back, because I think the language is pretty clear. Whether or not the language is trumped by state law, I don't know. That's something for the courts to decide. It's very possible that that's the case. It's also possible that someone would come along and interpret state law differently, because they always are interpreting laws differently. So we might win, we might not. But it would, to me, it would be helpful to wait at least a meeting before voting on this resolution and ask the board to approve spending some of Guy Crow's time, and it would be town of Enfield time, assumably. I don't think we would ask Black Oak to pay for this time, but it would be town of Enfield time that we would pay for, to ask him to give us legal advice on how we would go about telling Black Oak that they needed to reapply, that this application was null and void at this point.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable.
Okay, right.
Motion to table?
Motion to table, is that what it is? Motion to
What it
table.
is.
I'll make a motion to table Henry's resolution.
Seconded.
Discussion?
I have discussion. I would like to open up these things that we talked about for further discussion, maybe under new business. That's something, I mean, in order to talk more in depth about what we want to get from Guy Crow, the information that we want and how we'd want to move forward. If we could, please.
In the new business part.
Yeah.
Well, I think we should definitely contact Labella and tell them not to rack up any more legal bills until the account is replenished, I would think.
This letter is within 15 business days notice from the town, and that was January 6th. It said it says, consider this a formal demand to comply with the developer's agreement referenced above if it is not brought into compliance by January 31st, 2017. So, that's almost 3 weeks away, so that's 3 weeks worth of work that they would be doing by that time, and if they haven't paid by that time, then that's even more money that's in the hole. So, I don't think it's unreasonable to ask them not to be working on this project.
Could I ask Dan about that, since he's representing the ballot?
Yeah, I don't think there's been a lot more, I talked to her last week, and she hadn't done any more work on reviewing this since the end of December anyhow.
Do you feel like it's poor professionalism practice for the town to ask them to stop work at this point until further notice?
Given the whole process here, I would, the town is saying we aren't sure we're gonna have the funds to pay you. We wanna know about it, just don't tell us that, oh, you have to meet a deadline in 2 days for the work that should have been done over the last month.
Right. That makes sense.
Have reasonable expectations of delivery dates if.
Well, that would, I guess, be useful for Black Oak to know that if their non-payment is slowing down work, then that slows down the process.
Right. There's been a lot of confusion about who's doing what over the past 6 months. Black Oak or what we're doing. So.
Thank you.
But
Well, should we bring that up in the new business? Is that a new business item, or?
Yeah.
Dealing with, I mean, do we need to make a resolution to ask Labella to stop work at the moment?
Well, we need to finish this one first.
I believe. And I've a little lost track of,
There was a motion to table Henry's resolution. So
and there was a second. And this is the discussion part of it. Is there more discussion on the motion to table this resolution?
I'm a little shocked that it costs that much money to review those FOIL requests. Is that something that, can we look at them as a board, or do they all have to go to an attorney before they can be released for review?
I'm not asking an attorney to review them. I'm asking for an environmental specialist to review that. That's what the board is asking Labella to do.
Well,
To
the-
review it as an environmental specialist.
He's saying FOIL requests.
FOIL requests?
Yes, yes.
Oh, all right. We're now on FOIL requests. Say this again?
Do they all have to be sent to the attorney to be reviewed before they can be released?
Well, you asked the information officer that question. Well, I'll tell you my opinion. No, they don't. The information officer can make a decision.
And that's us.
Right, and when I get a request that asks for any correspondence between attorneys, I need to send it to the attorneys to get the information that they have to be able to provide.
Right.
But other requests, any other information that's not attorney, you don't have to do that.
No, I don't believe so. If I can just provide, if it's, most often information requested is on the website, or it's easily provided without question. But the correspondence between attorneys becomes a difficult thing, and they have to determine if it's.
Well, you're not privy to that, as a course.
Right, I have to request it from them, and they provide what they feel is providable. And then they bill us for their time.
I am curious though, so like if the IDA was foiled and information came from the IDA about the pilot agreement, so they handle that, they charge a fee,
They sent it electronically, no.
so they didn't charge any fee.
Right, if I ask for electronically, as long as it's available electronically under the law, they have to give it to me in that format.
But they also have, I'm sorry, I'm asking Jude because she
I
knows
submitted
that's
all the
right.
forms.
So I'm curious about, they clearly may have some policy in place about how to account for that in their accounting as far as man hours of getting things together and that sort of thing, and I'm curious if they just keep that in their own budget and they absorb that cost.
Yeah,
Because
May does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
IDA does, but they don't have a developer's agreement that states something otherwise,
Right.
that is a special circumstance,
Yes.
like the town of Enfield does. So, while I think this is a great resolution, I really do, but I really would need more information about, I'd really like to know what the maximum costs are. And what the problems would be associated with us, the conflict between that and this in particular.
Well, even if, the main question seems to be whether it's legal to request them to pay that, I think. Not so much have they reached the limit of what they can spend under the law, but.
But what Ann is suggesting is that question of what they can spend under the law falls into the question of legality of our making this a resolution.
Although
So-
assumably if we went over the limit, they would be the first ones to tell us that we don't have to pay you that because
Right.
you're over the limit.
But we don't know if we're $10,000 away from that, and they just know it, how close they are, because they are a business, and
That's something we need to find out, I think.
so, I guess I'm not really interested in.
Well, then, I can print out the 155 pages of seeker law, New York State seeker law, but I chose not to yesterday, but I can do it.
Well, we
Well-
really only need the section that applies to this. So-
Right,
And to know
right,
how
and
much
that
we
would
spent.
mean going through 155 pages to find the section.
Which you can do online.
Yeah.
That's fine.
That's right, you can flip through every page.
Or you can just do a Control F and you can search for the words.
One half
So,
of 1%,
it
one
really
half of
isn't-
1% rule, that's what
Yeah.
we're talking about,
Okay,
right?
yeah.
Marcus, do you have some insight on this?
Well, I was just gonna ask, I thought seeker was over. I don't quite understand how this is still under seeker.
Oh,
Good thought, Marcus.
I mean, this is
Oh.
town. this is a
That
town
seemed like that was
application.
brought up previously. Thanks for reminding us.
I've been trying to. I'm hearing you guys arguing about this, but I don't think this is under seeker anymore.
So then it's just a matter of legality.
Right, so there's no limit.
Yeah.
well, that's an interesting interpretation.
Well, then I guess that would be a question for Geico.
Which we've already asked him, and I read his answer, and it's a gray area. It's a question of, is Black
So
Oak.
I have it here if you want to read it.
You have what?
The seeker law.
Oh. Except,
I sent
we're
it to
done
my
with that
lawyer,
though,
so
right?
you got it.
but,
If you want to read it. When an action subject to this part involves an applicant, the lead agency, which is us, the town, may charge a fee to the applicant in order to recover the actual cost of either preparing or reviewing the draft, not both, you can't do both, or the final EIS. The fee may include a chargeback to recover a proportion of the lead agency's actual costs expended for the preparation of a generic EIS prepared pursuant to this section for the geographic area where the applicant's project is located. The chargeback may be based on a percentage of the remaining developable land or a percentage of the road frontage used by the project or any other reasonable methods. The fee must not exceed the amounts allowed under subsections B through D if the lead agency charges for preparation of the draft and/or final EIS. It may not also charge for review. If it charges for review and/or of the draft and/or final EIS, it may not also charge for preparation. Scoping will be considered part of the draft EIS for purposes of determining the seeker fee. No fee may be charged for preparation of an EAF or determination of significance. And then it says, my thing isn't going all the way down, but for non-residential construction projects, the total project value will be calculated on the actual purchase price of the land or the fair market value of the land, whichever is higher, plus the cost of supplying utility service to the project, the cost of site preparation, and the cost of labor and materials, as determined with reference to a current cost data publication in common use. In case of such projects, the fee charged may not exceed 0.5% of the total project value. But it's ambiguous as to whether that applies to each EIS or not. So you've had at least two because you had a modification, so you can look at it that way. There's also a slip opinion in Westchester County that applies to state of New York that says you can override that under your developer's agreement. If you contractually agree, you can override it.
Well, it looks to me like that 0.5% rule is irrelevant as far as these FOIL requests go, because they're not part of the environmental impact statement or the supplemental. It's done, so this is something separate from that.
Yes,
rule.
I was putting that forth as a comparison. As a state law, that something we do here, we cannot over.
Well, there's actually a
Right.
court case that you can. But
In a different judicial district, apparently there was one.
well, it's in the New York State Supreme Court.
So where do we go from here?
There is a resolution on the floor. Is there
There's a-
more discussion?
There's a motion to table.
Is there more discussion?
I think I don't have anything more to say.
Call the vote.
Councilperson Bryant. Councilperson Carpenter.
Aye.
Councilperson Hanstein.
What's this vote on? Table?
To table.
Table. Yeah, we'll table it, yes, aye.
Thank you, Annie.
Councilperson McGee.
Aye.
Supervisor Ryder.
Aye. So we are on to the Wind Law, Farm Law Advisory Report. Is there a desire to, I believe Ms. Bryant may have to leave the meeting?
Somebody turns into a pumpkin.
Yeah, I didn't want to quite say that. Is there a desire tonight to discuss this advisory report that was given to the board last month?
Personally, I would rather wait until another meeting.
Okay. We're on to new business. I pulled the snowplow resolution, so I wanted to put on here to talk about, or think about, 2017 plan of work. These were some things I felt were, manual was spelled correctly here. That I felt have gotten off track. I'm sure there are more that other board members might add to this list.
Employee handbook?
That's, oh, you want to do the employee handbook also? I have not been made aware of deficiencies, but,
Well, a review of it might be advised.
okay. Any other?
Well, certainly finalizing the changed wind farm law would be one that we're working on already that we would want to continue, I think. Revised wind farm law.
And then if Black Oak puts in a new application, they need to abide by the new law, I would assume.
If we have one.
We'd have to have a new law first.
That was one of the thoughts I had in relation to if we ask them to reapply, how we want to go about that procedure, because I think it's a little more complicated than just I think there's more aspects to it. Yeah. I would like to have the solar law in place too, or at least have it included in whatever.
We're updating it. Well,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a priority.
Oh,
Updating the
yes,
site plan review
the
law.
Site
the
plan review
planning
law.
board's recommendation has been to
Incorporate it into the.
incorporate
site
it
plan.
into the site plan review
Right.
law rather than creating a separate solar law.
Because most of the items in the draft solar law that you're looking at is already things that are looked at in the site plan review law, so you'd be duplicating.
So, to bring you up to speed, that's been the recommendation
That's what I
from
heard.
And at a past meeting, it may even been passed far enough that you were here, we did decide at one point that we were not going to vote on or continue developing the site plan review law to voting status until the comprehensive plan was done, because we wanted it to be in keeping with the views of the comprehensive plan.
Okay.
And that was, I don't know if, does that sound right?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. One is the size of commercial development. We made a recommendation, we're making a recommendation to reduce that from 10,000 square feet to 5,000 square feet.
Right.
And then incorporating the solar into the site plan review law.
And I think the intent of what we said in the board meeting was that when it's ready to finalize, we just want to make sure that the two are in sync with each other.
Right.
So we can work on both separately, assuming they just come together at the point where they're both ready to vote on.
Well, then I would like to interject. Since when we had a moratorium before for gas drilling, or exploration even, some of the things that, the reasoning that we had behind that were to do a road use agreement and the aquifer study and the comprehensive plan. And then I would propose the plan of work for this year should include a moratorium on any renewable energy until we have our laws in place. I mean, as wonderful as it was to drive by and realize when I got back here that Renovus had put in these great solar farms, I couldn't believe that we didn't have any regulations in place before that happened.
Right.
And,
Well, we do have regulations for that size of development on town lands. And we look at.
Lands in the town.
Lands in the town, right.
Right.
And we looked at the comparative impact of low-profile solar panels compared to large chicken raising barns, say, that are no longer used for that purpose. And do we are we looking at a design standard for large buildings, agricultural buildings, versus the solar? Some of the impact, or some of the opinions of the planning board were that why do we even want to regulate them? If people want to put them up, let them do it.
Well, it is.
But that was that's not my own opinion exactly. That was expressed.
well,
It was the
there
concern,
are
I guess.
questions of grid capacity.
The grid capacity really is not anything that we have anything to say about.
Right.
The utility grid is what it is. If these solar projects or any renewable energy projects are cost effective, you have to take into account all the costs of connection to the grid also, and the improvements. So we have a self-limiting issue with grid capacity in this town. Other towns have limited the potential development for solar projects based on the loss of agricultural land, prime agricultural
Right.
land. That was the town of Seneca's concern,
Right.
because they put in a limit
1/3.
of 60 or 16 megawatts, I believe, or 20 megawatts total in the town, so they wouldn't be
Right.
competing with the prime farmland.
I called that
Those,
guy.
those are concerns that, how much does the town want to regulate, is what I'm saying.
But those questions have to be asked.
I
And
know.
also
And
decommissioning
when
has
and I
also
asked
been
those
an
questions
issue.
to the planning board members, and the answer I basically got was, why are we regulating what people are gonna do on their land? Okay, that's the current planning board
I'm not
had
surprised.
that opinion. If the town board wants to have a different opinion, or has a different opinion, let's go for the big Z.
I definitely have a different opinion.
We have a giant zone in our town
We have one zone.
with no gas drilling.
No,
That
I mean,
that
we
is
have
zoning
a zone,
right there.
and we
you know?
have regulation in the town under the site plan review law that's dealing with towers. It deals with any development that disturbs more than 1 acre of land. And then, the design elements of that all get reviewed, and the environmental impact would be reviewed. So, we have a law that says 10,000 square feet of commercial or industrial buildings has to be reviewed. I want to reduce that to 5,000, just because we had 9,899 square feet for this little retail store. But it was more than an acre of land, so it got caught up. The Renovus projects are all over an acre of land in development, so they were all caught in the net for review. We have minimal design standards, basically, heights and visual impact, which is kind of nebulously stated in the law, so.
Decommissioning?
Decommissioning, yeah, that's an issue.
But it's not in there.
It's not directly addressed. I have my own opinion about that. If people want to worry about decommissioning a solar farm I don't see an issue. Of course, I work on both sides of the fence, so I got to be a little bit careful about that. But these are not huge structures, so there's really not. It's not like you're building a 400-foot tower.
They'll just fit in with the silos that are crumbling.
Right. Well, that was the other thing too. Is I asked that question at the planning board. They said, "Oh, we don't make people tear down barns when they stop using them, unless they burn
We
down
don't.
or they're unsafe, and then the building code
Yeah, we don't.
goes in." So
Can I ask you a question, Dan?
sure.
And this is kind of a little bit in the context of what Beth is saying, but it's also in the context of this list of things that we want to think about in the next year. And my concern, that I'm not really wanting to have zoning per se in all of its glory, but at the same time, my biggest concern is I'm going to call it large-scale commercial, industrial, agricultural development, which to me can actually be bad for local farmers in some ways.
You put a 10,000 cow dairy in Enfield, and it's going to take up the whole town.
Well, I mean, there's road issues, there's
There's a lot of issues,
there's
right.
manure issues, there's a lot of issues. So, in that context, would that be being dealt with in the site plan review law? Would we want to be
Agriculture is
thinking-
exempted.
Yeah.
And the definition, what is industrial agriculture and what
Right.
is agricultural agriculture?
Right.
And I'm not gonna, my feeling is these huge CAFOs are industries. And, but it is producing stuff off the land, but it's doing it in a factory setting. I mean, when the cows don't go outside, I have a hard time thinking of it as agriculture.
Right, and we're kind of going back to the issue with Henry, is just like, are we going to challenge state laws by saying that we are going to outlaw CAFOs that are, 20, 30,000 acres They're basically just manure producers, and, you know, that's what's happening. There's lots and lots of issues there, and if that is completely taken out of our hands as a town, that's significant. You know, there's something going on there
Well,
that we need to
that's,
think about.
that's,
Well,
Aggie Markets has
You
been
better
handling
check,
that. There's-
see how much control you
We
would have.
don't
over
really
That's
that.
have
what I'm
that much
talking about.
control over it,
That's-
and it's exempted from.
And
our
they've got
section
money,
law.
and they've got lawyers.
And, oh, they do.
And we have control of the town.
We don't have any
Not as
control
far
over
as
the town.
agriculture
We
goes.
certainly do have control of the town. We have control of the town until somebody takes it away from us.
Okay, what control do we have?
We have control to say that there's no fracking here. We have control to say
Okay,
that.
you have an anti-fracking law, good.
Right. And we have control to say that wind towers have to be done within a
You
certain
have specific
time.
for wind
Okay.
towers, right?
So I'm gonna say, just like you just said, where's the line between agriculture and industry? And is that clearly defined? I'm gonna bet it's not clearly defined anywhere. I'm gonna bet that there's a little gray area or a lot of gray area.
There's a big gray area there.
Yeah, there.
When you get to, 10-acre barns, I'm not saying it's a potential problem,
Yeah.
but there's certain things in state law that says you cannot regulate anything to not be allowed any place. And everything has its place.
Right.
And you can't just say, we're not gonna allow, large farms.
Right.
You have to support it through the comprehensive planning process and the environmental review process. They're saying, okay, this 100 acres of prime farmland should never be turned into a warehouse. And so that's where you zone that agricultural.
Right.
And then we've got 10 acres or 15 or 50 acres that have already been disturbed by big hatching buildings that aren't being used anymore. Now, is that an appropriate place to put a 300,000 square foot warehouse? Or a 300,000 square foot CAFO? Or a pig farm? No pig farms, please.
Don't say that anymore.
I
Stop using that
know, we
as an
experienced that
example.
already. I mean, those are all,
But-
we didn't
But
have it.
the job of government is not to say no, but make it as safe as possible.
Exactly.
As
That's the
safe
point.
as possible.
Yeah.
It's
So-
not without total
So you
risk.
tell me what's possible. There is no definition of possible. Usually, and what the wind farm wanted to say, and if you read their EIS and their all of the statements they put in this thing if it's financially feasible. You know, so that means if we decide in our own best interest that it's not financially feasible to spend $100 on helping you with blinds for your window so you're not bombarded with flicker effect, then we said that it's not financially feasible and we don't have to do it. Everybody gets to define that. There has to be some definition somewhere, but I'm gonna bet that there's no state definition that any court in the law is gonna say, well, X dollars means financially feasible. Because Joe Blow might, X dollars, it might be his whole life savings, and some big company, they buy lunch with it every day, you know, and it's not the same. It's a different world we live in today. It's not the same world that we grew up in with our, you know, I grew up on a goat farm. Nobody griped about my grandfather's goats. We gave them free goat milk. But if the fire department says we're running out of money, we're gonna put in 500 pigs up on the hill up here, somebody's gonna say something, and if we don't have any right to control of it, you know, what are we gonna do? We're gonna say, Roger, would you please move those pigs? Well, he might and he might not, you know? We have to think about it, and all I'm saying is that I think we should think about it, and I think we should think about it this year.
And I'm all in favor of that. And I think that's what the whole comprehensive planning process is supposed to do, is say
Yeah.
what's appropriate in the town.
Right.
And what limits should we put on.
Right.
And you gotta remember, when you start putting limits on, you're telling people what they can and cannot do
Right.
on their own little piece of.
So it has to be done
It
carefully.
has to be sensitive, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've come from one of the more heavily regulated areas, as you know.
Right, yeah.
To basically unregulated, and balance is what's important.
Yeah.
Our gas activities law had to be written very specifically. We could not be banning certain things. We had to ban them with certain wording.
Right.
in order to encompass a whole process, not just say, no drilling here. So finding the right language
Here's
is
what
the
I
key.
think. Here's what I think. The people on this board, every one of them, is thoughtful, considerate, interested in not just their own agendas, but interested in what happens in the town of Enfield and to all the people. We've shown that by sitting with this wind farm thing for the last 3 years and talking about it ad infinitum. I think this group of people could actually make some real progress toward being that reasonable, balanced town that could be an example for other towns that, you know, and we could explore these laws and say, well, what's acceptable in terms of regulating agriculture, and look it up and find out and say, this is probably okay. 3 other towns did it. It got through legal review, and it's a good, fair, balanced way to do it. I just, you know, I came on this board wanting to make a difference. That's the only reason I did it, was wanting to make a difference. So I still want to make a difference. And
Our comprehensive group did do a program here for farmers. We had a Saturday
Oh, yeah,
event
we
here.
had a.
Yeah, we did a Saturday.
And we had a couple of dairy farmers come and talk to us about it
Great.
and tell us how damaging it's been to compete with that.
To compete with the,
Compete
the
with
mega farms?
huge dairy farms,
it's tough, it is, yeah.
what it's done to them.
And they didn't mention the financial loss they've taken by the banning, the fracking ban?
They
They
didn't
didn't
seem
men- they
concerned
didn't
about
bring that up.
They didn't talk about that.
They didn't bring that up.
No.
I talked to different group of farmers.
Maybe you do.
Is there any other additions to this 2017 plan of work? My plan for next month's meeting will be to see if individual board members will take on certain subject matters. We have to have an audit meeting of the town books, the town clerk's books, and the justice books. And so I would like to get feedback on, it has to be done under state law in the month of January, I'm positive. So I'd like to have your input on a good Wednesday, I guess. Doesn't have to be Wednesday, but
25th?
you want it the 26th?
5th.
5th.
Wednesday.
Anybody else have a different thought?
What time of day are you thinking of?
Well, we usually, sometimes we have them at 5:30, but I don't know whether board members can get here at 5:30.
Well, you only need 3 total with you, 2
Yes.
with you, right? So
Yes, you only need 3 members present.
I can be here by 5:30.
I can do Wednesday, 5:30.
Wednesday at 5:30.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Well, I think Virginia can. And you said the 25th?
That's what it looks like.
Yep.
Well, here's the traveler's
Wednesday
calendar.
the
Turn your
25th.
back.
Wednesday's the
25th is Wednesday.
Is a
yes.
Wednesday?
What time? 5:30?
5:30, and we generally do it in the
Town hall.
town hall because there's more records there, I guess. Okay, I move that we have an audit meeting on January 25th, 2017 at starting at 5:30 at the town hall.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the vote.
Councilperson Carpenter?
Aye.
Councilperson Handstein?
Aye.
Councilperson McGee?
Aye.
Supervisor Ryder?
Aye. And the last business I move that we move into executive session under Public Officers Law, Section 102.3 for the purposes of discussing pending litigation entitled Cindy Gibbs versus Town of Enfield. I further move that Highway Superintendent Barry Rollins and Town Clerk Alice Linton be included in this executive session. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there discussion?
Could we do privilege of the floor before this? Would that be okay?
Sure.
Another question, were we gonna talk about how we're gonna move forward with Black Oak? As far as the information? we
Oh,
need?
under new business.
Well, I wanna, can I call Guy Grow? I haven't called him. What's the policy, town policy on that?
I'm usually the point person, but if you wanna call him, feel free.
So Henry-
Regarding your resolution?
Yeah, and the 1/2 of 1% rule and the environmental impact statement, since that seems to be finished, then does that rule still apply?
And I would like to have someone actually talk to Geico about what would be involved with sending a letter to Black Oak saying that we think that their permit is now expired because they haven't complied with things that we've asked from them, and they would have to reapply.
I'd
Just
love
call
to.
them and ask them both of those questions?
I will. I'd love to hear Guy's opinion about whether that application can be.
Yeah, would you mind having him write it down, write his opinion down for us on that? Okay, that would be great, thank you.
And what about Labella doing more work while Black Oak's in the hole? Do we call them, shut them down for now?
Yeah, I can email her tomorrow.
Yeah, send an email to Kathy officially. I'll talk to her too.
So is that moving forward on Black Oak?
Yeah, I guess I would just like to know, I really hate to see this drag on and drag on. So, like, if a 60-day notice is appropriate, as far as having these things that we are specifically saying we believe are imperative to the project. Otherwise, there would be a denial of the application. And also, what sort of information we need to have in order to put forth such a.
Not just his opinion as to whether or not we should, but also his opinion that if we decide to, how we would go about it.
How do we draft that?
Yeah.
I mean, because I can come up with 1,000 bits of information as to why why I think this particular application process doesn't seem to be going anywhere.
Well, we have never received an answer when the paperwork we asked for regarding Rich Teeter's land, if he's selling it, and whether the turbine whether that turbine's gonna be moved, we still don't know, right?
I haven't seen it, I don't know if they've replied to Ann.
No,
or
they have not
no.
replied.
And I'd also like to know, particularly from NICEAG, and whoever would be the point person for this scale project from NICEAG. There has to be someone there who knows these requirements and that information, whether or not they really, I mean, because there's just so much supposition all the time. Well, we think we heard this and we think we heard that or whatever. I'd really like to know what they would be required to do.
Do they still own the land on
Right.
the substation?
Well, yeah, I know that they were coming to the planning board with a subdivision about a year ago. And we were ready to have the public hearing on the subdivision for the substation. Because I've done quite a bit of work with NICEAG too. And NICEAG wants their switchgear and transformers on their land for this size of a project.
On whose land?
On their own land, on land they
NICEAG
own,
land.
that NICEAG owns. It's either that or in the public road right of way, but this is a substation of this size. If it was just one transformer that they could stick on a pole for a small solar farm or something, that's not a big deal. But for a major substation, which is 20 megawatts or whatever, Yeah.
Which is what Marguerite said in
Yeah,
the meeting as
they,
well.
they need to, I know they need to own lock, stock, and barrel the substation.
The
Yeah.
land.
Nice thing.
Well, they'll own the building, but you have to start
They
with
own
owning
the
the
land
land.
and everything that's on it. They don't pay to put it in,
Right,
but
right.
somebody's gonna, they will accept it, but it has to be built on their property,
Because
NICEAG's
NICEAG's property.
Right, because otherwise the landowner has the right at the end of the lease to ask them to remove
To
it.
remove it,
Right,
right.
and NICEAG won't, and NICEAG has a permanent easement through there with the transmission line.
Right.
That's why this site is more viable than
I
other
think
sites.
maybe the larger issue, Beth, is if Black Oak had a permit to build this wind farm, could they go to whatever agency is in charge of this and use right of eminent domain to force the sale of that land from whoever owns it to Black Oak Wind Farm? And I don't know what kind of criterion are used to apply to eminent domain, but once they had a permit, it's possible that they could do that. I don't really know. I mean, I don't know what the.
The Public
Yeah,
Service
yes.
Commission regulates NICEAG.
Public Service
Public
Commission?
Service Commission regulates NICEAG.
But who decides whether or not something can be forced a sale under eminent domain?
I'm not sure in this type of situation, if the Public Service Commission, if it becomes an article, I don't have the right number. 10. I was thinking it was 10. Then the town has no say, this DOT has no say.
Right.
DEC has no say. Public Service Commission has the authority.
Yeah.
And they can create whatever they want to create.
So that's my larger concern beyond NICEAG, actually.
Yep, but saying that, their regulations are pretty darn stiff as far as environmental and everything else, because I've worked with both sides there too, so.
The Public Service Commission.
Public Service
Yeah.
Commission.
The bottom line though is that we have to know that the landowner, where they decided they want to put this substation, is willing to sell that land, the NICEAG.
Which is the letter that we asked for
Right.
3
Right.
months ago.
So there are two
And you're
letters.
really sure that you'd probably be privy to that information?
I'm not really sure of anything. I'm sure, except that, I'm sure this board needs those things in order to know whether or not this plan can go forward the way that they proposed it. So, and the longer that it sits there without this information, the more work we're expected to do, the more reading of plans that, I mean, this was actually an action, these were action items tonight. And I have like 25 comments of my own concerns on each one. Not to mention the comments that I received from community members. So to have it as an action item before, to vote on it, I'm just kind of surprised. But all this work, more and more and more.
It's gonna keep going. We're gonna be doing it into the spring and summer and fall and.
I've got a question for Dan. The substation that's needed for this size wind farm, in relation to the substation across from the hospital, would it be bigger than that?
No, it'd be about the same size.
Same size
I
as
think
that?
they were asking for a 1 acre or a half acre parcel. But it's basically, you have to have enough space around it.
Around it for something.
But it would be,
And the chain link fence.
it would be about the size of the one right on Trumansburg Road there.
On
With-
96.
With access.
With access.
With
Oh,
access.
yes, it has to
Well,
have
with
access.
access, yeah, I mean, it depends on.
It has to have
where you are.
access.
But as far as the actual transformers and stuff, it would fall in about a 1/4 acre parcel.
Right, but then you have all of the acreage that's gonna have to be used to get all of those lines to that substation. So those lines have to go
Well,
out from the
that
substation.
that doesn't belong to NICEAG. They don't want that, or that could be under, if it is, it's a lease. It's from their transformer into their
I understand that,
transmission
Dan, but if NICEAG were to, if someone were to force an eminent domain sale of the land.
Oh, yeah, no, I see what you're
Of the
saying.
land,
All the
all
other
of that land
facilities,
would have to
right,
be
yeah,
sold, because
right.
you'd have to have the land for the wires too, so.
I mean, there's yeah, and
Yeah, it's kind of messy.
it's, if you don't have cooperation, you've got a problem.
So we've settled the audit meeting. You want, oh, So moving forward on Black Oak, is there more discussion on that?
I don't think I can say anything more tonight. Let the guys out in the audience talk a little bit.
Okay, we will, we did not act on this motion,
Audit meeting?
the audit
Vote on
meeting.
it
We
yet?
did not.
Yes, you did vote on it, yes.
We
you
did vote on it. Oh, okay. However, we're gonna change the order and go into, privilege of the floor. Announcements, there's a blood drive, on Tuesday from, 1 to 7.
I was gonna say 6:30, I thought, but
All
7
right,
or whatever.
6:30.
Yeah, 6:30.
Walk-ins are welcome. Can't think of another. Wynton Marsalis is coming to town. I could announce that.
To Enfield?
No, just to the State Theater.
Oh, okay.
He's not, I can't lure him out to the country. I might try.
City board.
Born and bred. So that's all the announcements I have, so we'll move to privilege of the floor.
I have a quick one.
Mr.
Cliff Newhart, 753 Black Oak Road. I think on your 2017 plan of work, I think you ought to keep that open-ended for a couple, 3 months, in case some more things come to mind. You can add them on.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Jude.
Jude Lemke, 215 Connecticut Hill Road. So a couple things. I gave you this paper and I've passed it out. So this is just an explanation of why I believe, I've done a fair amount of research, why I believe that Black Oak's assertion that they're entitled to the full 30% credit is not correct. And that as of December 31st, they dropped down to 80% of the credit. So the reason that's important is it goes to their financing, and I think, one of the real questions that hasn't been answered is Baywa really committed to buying this project? I mean, no one's talked to Baywa. I suspect that Baywa is just sitting in the wings saying, hey, if you ever get this thing straightened out, call us, right? And so, you could go through a lot of work and then find out Baywa is not willing to buy this thing. And I think that's, another area that you should be exploring is, do they really have financing? We're spending a lot of time and energy when we have a lot of other important things to do. So do they really truly have financing lined up? And I think that the fact that their credits have dropped by 20% goes in part to that. Do they really have financing lined up? I really do support the idea of putting a moratorium in place while you consider the comprehensive plan and looking at this potential new wind law. I mean, I think it's really critical to get that in place before the next wind farm project comes along. And then finally, if you really are serious about looking at lawyers, I recommend you go talk to the Newfield lawyer. I really like the guy. He goes to all the meetings. And from what I can see in the meetings I've gone to, he's really, really good, and he's very objective. He goes through, he explains the law, he explains what the consequences are, the various different ways that you can think about it, and what it would mean if you did one thing or another, and then he leaves it to the board to decide.
What's his name?
It's Tom Smith, is that what it is?
I think it is,
It's
yeah.
He
Tom
works
Smith.
for Paris Beach.
Paris Beach.
I actually have a copy of his contract with him.
He's really, really good. I'm very impressed with him.
Tom's good. And town boards that I've worked with in the past, they've usually had an attorney there, but their budgets usually are bigger than Enfield's too, so. That is the going rate for attorneys, and I think it's actually cut back a little bit.
Huh? What?
That $200 rate,
That's a hell of a rate.
that's
Yeah.
low.
Yeah, yeah.
That's low. And if you let guys shoot deer out of the back window, he'll come in cheapest.
Any other privilege of the floor? I'm sorry,
Judy.
Judy Perkins.
Judith Perkins.
Judy Perkins, 273 Black Oak Road. Couple questions. I'm wondering if there's any chance that Guy Crow could be invited to come to the next meeting, the next monthly meeting that we have. Sounds like there's at least half a dozen questions to ask him about. I would be really interested in hearing first person what he's got to say. And this would go along with your suggestion that we have a lawyer here to give, expertise, advice at the meeting. So I'd like to see us give it a try next month.
Maybe we could take up the hat.
Pardon me?
Maybe we could take up the hat to pay him.
The other question I have is, why are we talking about asking Black Oak to reapply when this has been such a horrible experience with this business? I don't understand that at all.
May I answer that?
Sure.
We can't limit their ability to apply.
But
What we can
do we have to invite them to?
Well, we certainly don't have to invite them to. We can deny the permit without prejudice, and and they're a business. They're free to reapply for the permit with a new application. But we don't have to make it them able. We can have a moratorium in place until we make our laws more reflective of what is compatible with our community. I mean, those are all possibilities. So I totally understand the wording there and the language that you're using, but we can't prohibit them from.
Well, if they want to, fine, but I don't think it's our obligation to invite them to do so.
I also have another question about that. She mentioned having Guy come to the next meeting. Unfortunately, I think that the first line of questioning really should be more of the town board asking questions, because then it could be legal advice in an executive session. I don't think that it's appropriate for us to be discussing strategy in front of potential Black Oak wind farm people that might be in the room. But I don't think it's a bad idea to invite Guy Crow for us to be able to ask the questions that we have, because I think those questions we added to the list as the evening went by, and I don't necessarily feel like it's Ann's responsibility to try to articulate all those questions the way we may have presented them, and we may have more questions as the month rolls on. So it might be useful to have him come and answer our questions as a board.
But what about the concern of Black Oak listening in?
Is it a possibility to do it in an executive session? I mean, he certainly came and advised before, and I didn't even get any of that information. I don't know that information, so I'm kind of...
Yeah, I think that might be the way to do it.
I assume that I know that many, many towns in New York State have their town attorney come to every meeting. So I'm pretty sure that there is protocol. I never asked what it is because I never needed to know.
Well, right now I'm only asking that he come to the next meeting so he can answer these specific questions that we might have with regard to the Black Oak Wind Farm issue.
Whether he would deem that grounds to have an executive session, I do not know.
I would think we would ask Guy and ask him if legally the kinds of questions we want to know should be done in executive session.
What did I just say?
But we need to know that.
I would think you could do it with attorney-client.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt the public speaking time.
Yes.
Oh,
No, I pointed at you.
Oh, that's what you were doing. Tammy Aylen.
203 Hines Road. I guess the hard thing I have is when we start talking about no zoning, I'm kind of like double-edged on it. I do live close to a vicinity of a, car lot behind me, I guess you could call it. Not that I could see it, but I did know that it was there when I bought my property. the hard thing I have about no zoning is the fact that structures and things can be put up and around you, which is not there when you bought the property, was not why you bought the property, but you know, and your value and things like that you put into your property. It's really hard when these things go up and around you and change the whole area, and it's really tough not to have the no zoning. And we start talking about apples to oranges when I hear comments thrown out by people that are not being affected and simply saying, well, we're gonna have a crumbling this or a crumbling that. Would you rather have this, or would you rather have a pig farm? Or you know what, I don't even care about would I rather have that. We're talking about this subject right now. I'm not talking about the crumbling tower, or the crumbling this or the crumbling that, or barn falling apart. We're not talking about that. My parents have got a 10-acre solar farm coming up almost like a mile from the road from them. And it bothers me. It bothers me because we don't know so many things about them. I want a decommissioning. I want to know what happens after the end. Who's going to take care of it? Who's the one who's going to be responsible? These people are going to walk away, just like this wind farm, in my opinion, after they got their money and they're done. They prey on these small people. This is my opinion only. They come in and sweep in these big companies, and they look good. And you know, I honestly feel bad for a lot of people because we're gullible and we think people are honest. There's not an honest person, I don't think, around anymore. I mean, there is a few I'd hate to say that, I should retract that. But it makes me so angry because I see this happening. It's not just where I work, it's where I go to the store. It's where when I'm driving, it's people are for themselves everywhere I turn. And I sat there and I thought, you know, it's so sad because where is anybody helping anybody? Where are people doing that?
Not around here.
Right, and so I thought back, okay, I want to go back to the 70s and 80s where families helped each other. Companies looked out for their employees. Towns looked out for their own people and others. I don't see a lot of that.
Karen. Starts with you and me.
I mean, it's
It starts
really
with you and me
sad.
and everybody else.
My youngest daughter just joined the auxiliary. I've got all my family in there. I believe in community service. I believe in helping the community as much as possible. I believe that kids should understand that this is what you should do, in helping other people as much as possible. But in the same hand, not get screwed, because that can happen also. It's so sad though, because what are we becoming? Why are we looking out for each other in the long term? Sure, solar, you're gonna save, and the towers, the energy whole bit, I get that, the green, this is my children's thing, but what are you doing to them on the other hand? You know, who's gonna take care of that stuff? Sure, you're saving the environment, but what are you doing?
Cammy, there is a lot of that, but if you look at the people that have been coming to this meeting for the last year, there's a lot on the other side too.
I understand, right now, I've just had 3 deaths, so I'm really feeling, it's sad, it's just.
Yeah.
But when I hear about people, the same thing happened with the towers, is the solar. The same exact things I'm hearing some people say, oh, well, would you rather have this? You know what, I want to just go up to them and just say, stop. I don't care about that. I'm talking about this. Deal with this. So this is our town. I mean, I live here, you live here, we all live here. We only want to take care of it. So let's stop and think about that. And I'm thinking most of us here that stay till 10:30, since my dogs will get me up 2 times in the middle of the night, and I get up at 4:30 after I've not got much sleep. You know, this is what we're all about. So we should really be doing it, and I'm glad, Beth, you're here, that you took Mike's spot. I just hope that we continue doing it. Maybe that's a lot of rambling, but I don't know. I just thought about this solar thing, and my parents have got 10 acres coming up on them across from Caholka Road on Millard, and it makes me sad. It makes me sad to think the farmland's gonna be gone. I'd rather see development come in. I'd rather see houses go up just like it has next time. Thank you for the 3 minutes, Ann. I appreciate that.
4 minutes and 45
Well, I
seconds.
took last week's or last month's or whatever you want to call it.
You can't carry over.
I've had 3 deaths. Give me a break. I just lost track.
Teresa.
Do I have to state my address again?
Yes.
738 Black Oak Road, Newfield. Oh, Newfield, Enfield address. This is a kind of a question, comment type thing, because I'm not exactly sure how it works, but when you do like a permit with the town, for any type of thing, whether it's a solar project, whether it's this, whether it's a house. Within Enfield, is there no particular expire date? And if so, is that something that could possibly, not just for this per se project, but I'm saying for future projects as far as solar or for any type of projects coming into Enfield to where there's a specific amount of time as far as an application goes? Maybe that's something we should check into in the future. I don't, just a suggestion or question, I guess.
It's a good thought.
I think there's a expiration of approvals for the site plan applications if you don't do any work on them, and I'll check on that too.
Is that for like everything?
Anything that gets, I think, that approval, building permits expire after a year.
But that's if you get the permit.
If you get the permit.
Right.
And if you can always renew it and extend it if you need to. But,
I was just confused because this whole project's like separate, so I didn't know how like the solar thing worked, or like all new future projects with Enfield. I didn't know how it was gonna work.
yeah, there are, I think there is a time limit. I'll check that now because I haven't really looked at that. But when we review things at the planning board, we do look at the timeframes, and we can put conditions on the amount of time before they start construction and finish it.
I think that's the kind of information we really are asking for from Guy and
Yeah.
trying to understand better. Yeah.
I mean, you can. And there are subdivision regulations, I think you have to file it within a certain amount of time, or it expires too, but.
Marcus?
Marcus Gingrich, 101 Rumsey Hill Road. First, let me make a correction. I said about the 0.5% on seeker. I said something like there is no limit. I don't know about that. My point was, I don't think the 0.5% is applicable because I think we're beyond seeker. A couple of other points were already brought up about the attorney, like, you know, at Newfield, they have theirs there all the time at board meetings. And I think the concept or the idea was that it would be much more expensive to have them here. However, consider that instead of having to have the additional time of going and talking to him, you've already got your questions answered here. Saves you some time as well. Yeah, it'll probably be a little more because you're gonna be spending the extra time, obviously, of having him here the whole time. I would also, I know there's talk about the moratorium, and I would just say, think about if you're actually considering, you know, saying, hey, you know, it's time for, if things have not gotten far enough and you haven't given us what we need as far as Black Oak, that this application is no good. If you really want to consider the new law, you might need to put in a moratorium sooner rather than later. The other thing, Mike, I was just going to comment, I really like where your heart is as far as with kids, but today things are completely different. My kids have been involved in sports and and I don't know this is the case across the board. They're coaches now for kids baseball, I think it was. I forget which one. All of them had to go through like a background check. I mean, it's just getting.
At the minimum.
The coaches or the kids?
Marcus, I've been through so many background checks already.
Well, right, okay, but I'm just saying that it's
Oh, I
not
know.
like, you know, even
I
a
know.
couple of years ago, it was just parents were coaches. Now they actually have to go through background checks.
The insurance industries are making lots of money on us.
Yeah.
For sure.
Fingerprints, yeah.
Yes.
To Dan's, I just wanted to, and echoes what somebody else said about solar farms, and I have not had a chance to look at it, but I am somewhat familiar with like the manufacturing process that goes into solar panels, and or at least the semiconductors. And I would like to look into it more because decommissioning, it really raises a question in my mind. At this point, has anybody seen any decommission and what actually it entails, what it takes to get rid of all that material? Yeah, there's metal, that probably is fairly easy. I mean, you can always just run it up the teats. But the rest of the stuff, I'm not sure. There are some interesting materials in the solar cells themselves. Granted, probably very low quantities. Just something to think about.
Thank you. One more privilege of the floor.
Or not.
We'll act on the motion that we passed. Move into executive session.
I don't think you passed it.
Did we need
You
to do
didn't
this?
pass it. What did you just say to me?
Did we need to do this?
Should have been in the consent agenda.
I didn't see it.
Okay, clerk. I moved that we move into executive session,
Right, and it was seconded, but there was no vote taken on it.
but there was no vote. Call the vote.
We are voting on whether to move into executive session. Councilperson Carpenter. Councilperson Hanson.
Aye.
Councilperson McGee. Supervisor Ryder.
Aye.
I was ready for.
He's going to need